Good morning, StarCraft fans. We're back with another day of the Soup Star League. It's day 2 of the round of 8, and as you can see, today's going to be a banger matchup. It's going to be Soulkey versus Light. And helping me on the desk today, we do have Xun. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Nyoken? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for helping me out today. A lot of people always ask me, why don't you get XYZ caster? And it's like, well, I want them, but are they gonna wake up at 5 in the morning for this? I don't know. So you came in clutch for me.
I got your back, buddy. Just hit me up. If I can, I will.
Well, today is gonna be what I think a lot of people were hoping the finals was gonna be. It's gonna be Soulkey facing off versus Light, a Terran versus Zerg. I've mentioned, for several seasons that I think Light, he's the best Terran, but he's going up against the best Zerg these days.
Yeah.
Recently, Soulkey has had something like a 60 to 70% win rate. However, in the past few sponsored series I've seen, players like Light have gotten the better of him. They've always been close, something around like 5-4. So I'm hoping that this series will deliver.
Yeah, and Light is definitely a different kind of style of Terran. Like he's cutting SEVs around 35, 40. He's going a much more lower economy, heavier timing attack, squeezing out a little bit of extra production. So we'll give Soulkey a run for his money in this series for sure.
And we're looking at the round of 8 bracket. As we know, yesterday, Snow got the better of Barracks. I did like Barracks' build. You could tell that he really prepared, but I was disappointed
Mm,
that the builds he prepared, he didn't do any builds that got him to this stage. Like there were almost no macro games at all. And I think Barracks
right.
really excels with the big time macro. So it was a little unfortunate to see that. I think we're about to go into highlights, so we'll check those out and then we'll talk more about these games coming up. A little bit of highlight there. I like how the highlight for Light is YSC running his shuttle into a turret and dying, and then the 6 racks failing for Royal. But like I was mentioning
Yeah.
with the round of 8, Snow already through, and regardless of who comes through this match, Snow's not gonna be happy. Does he run into
No.
Soulkey, get a rematch from last season? Does he run into Light and he's playing versus the best Terran versus Protoss on the planet? It's gonna be really hard.
Yeah, I personally, I really would like to see Soulkey versus Snow, but either way, I'm going to be happy. Snow versus either of these two players is going to be an interesting game. I mean, Snow did put up a much stronger performance against Barracks than he did against Speed, but yeah, I mean, against either of these guys, he's not going to be feeling too comfortable.
Yeah, in StarCast Season 1, Snow went like almost undefeated versus Terrans. I think his stats were 13-1. It was like a 93%
Yeah,
win rate. So
it's crazy.
he clearly wants to play versus Light simply because of how dominating he's been versus Terran. But Speed kind of showed like, hey, you can out multitask this guy, but you've got to have insane APM. And Light, he's a really good player, but doesn't strike me as someone that turns on the afterburners and is attacking 5 different areas while also laying mines. So it's like a completely different style. And then
Right.
I think for the viewers, I think you're right that most players wanna or most viewers wanna see a rematch versus Soulkey because those games were epic, especially the Blitz game, which was like a mined out Blitz, like almost 50
Yeah.
minutes long.
Yeah, I think those two players will stack up nicely, and I think that is what the viewers want to see. And Soulkey obviously is kind of the reigning champion right now, and he's got a lot of experience and composure under his belt to work with. Won't be too surprised if he does make it through against Light here.
Well, even in the graphic during the highlights, they mentioned a three-peat. Let's say Soulkey wins here.
Hmm.
Do you think he can three-peat this season?
I mean, I think he's the most likely to be able to accomplish something like that. But I mean, there's a lot of other players in the lineup still that are very strong. I mean, Barracks was probably the only real questionable guy that's in the round of 8. I mean, the other guys are absolute bangers, especially like I'm looking at Hero. I mean, Hero's the guy that's always making it into like the round of 4, never quite getting the championship title. This might be his season to do so. Who knows? We could see a repeat of a Soulkey versus Hero finals. That's also possible. But I think Soulkey, though, really is the one of the contenders to get a hat trick here and get all 3.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens. I'm still on the Hero train. I'm still waiting for him to make it and get a championship.
Me too.
I kind of feel like he's the Walt of the ASL, where I've like been calling him for year after year after year. And DeWalt
Yeah, man.
recently got it, right? So maybe finally Hero can do it too.
Yeah, no, Hero is the guy that I want to win. I'm just going to call my bias now. If anyone can win this tournament, I want it to be Hero. That's what my heart wants, but my head is telling me that that's not necessarily going to be the case. There's some absolute killers in this round of it.
Well, some people have been telling me that they've been really rooting hard for Rain. Like I look at this bracket and I'm just like, yes, Rain is good, but how in the
Mm.
hell does he get past any of them really? Like first he's got to go through
Yeah.
Rush, then he probably has to go through Hero. If somehow Sharp beats Hero, then he's got to go through Sharp, who's got the multitask level of speed, and then
Right.
that's just getting through that side of the bracket. Then you have to face either Snow, Soulkey, or Light.
Yeah, it's not looking too ideal for Rain, and Rain doesn't put in the same kind of practice ethos as these other guys. Like, he's more of a streaming personality through and through. Like, he's playing like other games and stuff, and not really dedicating his full to StarCraft. I have to imagine now that he's going deep in SSL, he's trying to put in just a few more hours into practice. But compared to all these other guys, he doesn't train a lot.
Jinjin posted a video about Rain saying that he was going to train a lot for SSL, and it was true. Apparently, he did train a lot. He didn't play any League of Legends, but I was curious after he beat whoever he beat in the round of 16. I loaded up his stream like a couple days ago, and of
Mm.
course, he was on League of Legends. I was like, I knew it.
Ah,
I knew it, man.
ah. He can't help himself, man. He's got that league virus.
He does. It's hard to get rid of. It's hard to cure.
Yeah, I mean, I played it once upon a time, like way back when in season 4, but I managed to, cure myself of that particular tumor.
It's an addicting game, but
Yeah.
nothing like StarCraft. And it looks like our interviews are ready, so we'll be going into the games momentarily. I'm sure we'll get a rundown of the maps in a second. I think I remember Radeon being picked first, and
Yes.
then Monty Hall was last. I remember that for sure.
Correct.
So, I mean, you were talking to me about it in the beginning, and also I've read about it on Team Liquid. Maps apparently are Terran favored, but aren't they favored every season? But apparently they're even more favored this season.
No, I think sometimes people just, they have their own biases, and keyboard warrior attitude comes into play a little bit, and they get a little bit, over feisty in the comments section. But this season in particular is definitely more Terran favored. I even had that emotional reaction to it when I first saw the map pool as it was announced. I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's a Terran favored map pool. That was my initial hunch reaction just to seeing the list. And the Monty Hall especially is one of those funky maps that Terrans can get away with all kinds of weird stuff on. So that might be a nice little tiebreaker game here for Light if it does go all the way. And we could see, like, maybe some proxy factory into a 2-port Wraith or something there.
So we're getting a look at Key points. Okay, is season 3 a key point here? I mean, it's literally like a million years ago where he lost 3-2 versus Flash. In season 14, he lost 4-3 versus Royal. And in season 15, he lost 3-2 versus JYJ. Then he beats JYJ 3-2, and then he beats Rush 4-3. So he's on a bit of a streak versus Terrans. But look at the scores. I mean, it's not like they're blowouts. They're
Right.
really close.
Well, Soulkey's the kind of player where he really doesn't. He's happy to play from behind. You know, he'll do things like 9-pull expand just to like potentially punish you. But he's happy to play from like weird economic positions. So I think that's one of the reasons why you see statistics like that. Is he kind of goes the distance with how he approaches the game, and he tries to like dot as many I's and cross as many T's as he can. And that does stretch you a lot as a player if you're not just willing to take straight out like risks all the time. So that can affect you in longer series, I think.
Yeah, this graphic is also just mentioning all the Terran players that he's gone through. Most of them are versus Rush. In fact, like the first 6 are versus Rush. Then it's versus Mong, C, and then Rush again at the bottom. 8-2 win rate. That's pretty crazy. Now we're looking at the key points for Light. Okay, these are more recent. Season 15, okay, I can get behind these. But most of the games I'm seeing so far are versus Protoss and Terran. The only Zergs that he's beat here, or only Zergs that he's played against was, first off, season 15, he lost to Soulkey 2-1. Then he lost to Effort and Action. And then he doesn't have any other Zerg games, so really hasn't played versus Zerg much.
Right. Honestly, I haven't been liking Light's TVZ as much for a while now compared to, I mean, he's always been a really strong TVT player and, rather exceptional for TVP considering how much the other Terran struggle. And he is kind of the go-to guy. If you want to learn something about Terran, like you're probably hitting up Light. So he's an absolute wealth of knowledge about the game. But hasn't really been executing and performing as well in the versus Zerg matchup.
That he's 6-4 overall versus Zerg in his last 10, but pains me to say it, the players that he played against are more on the weaker side of Zerg. He's taking down Shine and Soxry. One of the games he beat Soulkey, but then he lost twice, and then he ended up beating Zealot and Jaedong, who aren't exactly at the top tier anymore either. And this is the last time they played season 15 round of 16 Group C, where Soulkey ended up winning. But of course, the stats were still really close, 2-1, like I was saying.
Right. Yeah, pretty much all of Soulkey's series have been like that. I can't really remember many series where he's just like 3-0ing, 4-0ing people or whatever. I mean, and the finals against Hero were very close as well. I can imagine we'll see a relatively close matchup between these two players. It might even go the way. I think a 4-3 is very possible here.
I think so too. I guess if somebody gets hot, it's possible that we could see something like a 4-0 or, well, I don't know about 4-0. That's a bit extreme, but I could see 4-1 at kind of the minimum. My prediction is actually it's going to go 4-2
Yeah.
for one person. I actually don't really have a prediction here because I think it's so close. We're looking at the stats. As we mentioned, Soulkey's on a massive heater for the past 2 seasons, so his win rate has skyrocketed. He's got basically a 60% win rate versus Terran. It's almost his best matchup, and you can see 2-time champion. That's back-to-back, and he's been in the round of 4 2 times also. So he's been here before, to say the least.
Yeah, he's on a streak right now. He's got a lot of wind blowing at his back, and he wants to carry that momentum to get his little triple here. And he can do it. He's playing like an absolute monster in recent times. It's actually kind of scary to watch him play. There's so many games where I would have counted him out, and he still somehow manages to navigate those into wins. Really impressive stuff. I'm hoping Light brings his A game today because he's going to need it against Soulkey.
He doesn't bring the A game, it's gonna be really bad. And sometimes Light is like that. Sometimes I watch him and I'm like, is this the same guy that I watch on stream?
Right.
Like, what is he doing? Like, there's legitimately there are times like, oh my god, he's God. He's S rank. And then there's sometimes I watch him like, is this F rank? What is this? So hopefully, like you said, he brings the A game, because if he doesn't, I mean, this is going to be a massacre. So we're going into our first map. It's going to be Radion. Like you were saying, a lot of Terran favored maps, but I really like this map for TVZ. I think it's pretty balanced, but I guess we'll wait and see what the graphics says.
Yeah, I mean, Soulkey does like to slow the game down, so this could be a good map for him as well.
Okay, so in the top right, our current champion, we do have Soulkey. And in the bottom left, champion from like season 13, we do have Light. The Terran versus Zerg. Light, generally he plays pretty standard in my opinion. He did get a good spawn here, and I think he could wall off, but he doesn't necessarily have to. I think he will. And just from my experience watching Light, I expect this to be like a 3 racks or a 4 racks. He doesn't really do a lot of crazy stuff often, but he definitely can. Like, I've seen him 10-10-10 into race. I've seen him 1-1-1. But in general, he just plays very solid, and there goes that SCV.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I honestly, I've seen so many wall-ins from Terrans that I want to see Zergs like start to punish this. It's like, I would be super happy if like one of these games Soulkey just busts out a random 4-pool or something. I would love to see it.
I always like to see the 4-pool because you know that this guy is obviously just going for the throat, trying to, you know, exploit the wall like you're talking about, but you really don't see it that often unless your name is Shine.
Yeah, it's very true. Like, almost no Zergs are going for it, and I think that's why you see so many Terrans just being so brazen about walling in almost every single game.
I mean, I like the wall, and this is Command Center first, by the way. Okay, so I was talking about how he doesn't really do some crazy stuff, but this is pretty crazy. This is where, you know, having all that practice versus this opponent comes into play. So he's going to have a massive build order advantage, and Soulkey is going to scout too, but he's going to find him, you know, second here most likely, unless he goes cross scout. If he goes cross scout, he could be quite annoying.
Yeah, but sometimes you do want to go cross scout on these larger maps to know that your opponent's closer or not. And looks like he was, for a second I thought he was going to cross scout, but it looks like no, just going to do a normal scout here. And yeah, there's no way of punishing this really. I mean, he's just going to essentially have to do what he was planning to do and just play from behind a little bit here.
I think if this was Royal, he may have cross scouted because Royal 8 racks is quite a lot, and then he also 6 racks is. And then, you know, even though I haven't seen Royal do this because I don't watch his stream that often, I'm sure he probably even does like 888, which is like the fastest factory you can possibly get. So I think this is a player specific where he didn't go cross scout here. And well, now I guess I wonder, okay, I was thinking maybe he'll chase this SCV, and if he chased the SCV, that would have been really bad because he would have never known about the 14cc.
Yeah, that would have been a little bit rough. But even if he does scout it now, there's not really anything he can do. He's just thrown down his lair, and with the wall in, there's not really any way of punishing this. I guess he could do like a 2-hatch lurker play. Maybe he could deceive Light by making a spire and a den at the same time and try to throw him off, make him make turrets, then hit him at the front with lurkers. That's possible, or vice versa, and go and mute as well, forcing him to make bunkers at the front. But I don't think we'll see anything crazy like that out of Soulkey this game. I think he's just going to play from behind.
Is going to be a 2 racks follow-up. This is pretty much the safe follow-up. I guess with the wall, he could have gone 1 racks and then rushed all of his upgrades, but this is, you know, really the safe route that you see on maps where you can't necessarily wall, like Fighting Spirit and stuff like that, but it's still going to be a somewhat quick gas. This is definitely going to be an Academy. There's no way on earth this is going to be an eBay.
Yeah. This is 2x Academy. You don't usually see this these days, actually. It's been like 1+1, like +1 racks, like almost exclusively. You rarely see the 2x Academy, and that's maybe why Light's going for it here, maybe trying to hit a timing that Soulkey's not quite prepared for.
People have realized that, you know, 2 racks, what does it really get me? Get me like what, an additional Marine and a medic? Well, is that going to change the game? Like, is there going to just die to this attack? I mean, players have gotten so good that they're just not going to. So, well, what else can I do instead? Well, what I can do is rush +1 while also rushing all my other upgrades and then go into a delayed 3 or 4 racks. SCV gets in here, and I will say that gas seems late-ish, and that's why, because the hatchery is hidden at the corner of the base.
Yeah, he should be able to identify this as a 2.5 hatch just based on the gas timing alone, I imagine.
Yeah, I think so. I guess the question now is, does he think that it's out on the map somewhere? When he scans and he sees no creep, you know, connecting towards the ramp, I think he may actually move out. And I've seen times where players move out and instead Zerg just all in Lings and Mutas. And in fact, I think the games I'm remembering is it was actually Soulkey doing that. So this could be a good mind game where Soulkey's like, oh, I got a hidden base, go out and kill it, and then actually he just all ends you. And if Light isn't paying attention, he could definitely be caught.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility here. Although, I don't know. I mean, Soulkey probably will try and get away of not making many Sunkens as well. Looks like Light's just going to be going up into 4x. And Soulkey with some speedlings and cross map, he knows the rush distances are so long here, like 38, 39 seconds to get on the other side of the map, that I don't think he's going to do a timing to try and sunken break him before Mutas. There's going to be maybe a crazy Zerg play here. Evo Chamber going down at that hatchery already, Nyoken.
He saw that it was a 2 racks opener. He knows that the eBay isn't going to be the fastest ever. So he's going to maybe go into crazy Zerg. It could also be for the really fast +1. And then, you know, just go for the all-in Ling Muta counter like I was talking about. I actually think that would make the most sense because Light's 14cc, his econ is crazy right now. Even if he does, you know, get a slightly faster +2 compared to Terran's +2, I don't know if it's going to be the difference maker, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's so scary playing against CC first Terrans. Like, they pretty much have the stuff that they should have. They just have everything faster and they have more of it. And it just feels like you're playing against like a supercharged AI or something when you're against this build order opening from Light. Very scary position for Soulkey to be in. Doesn't want to make any missteps here. Going to be rotating around, maybe trying to cut off retreat and try and force Light to be a little bit scared about attacking. But he's just going to be charging across the map right now and forcing Sunkens and draining Soulkey's economy a little bit here.
It is actually going to be crazy Zerg as the Queen's Nest also got put down, and because of this placement, Light's probably never going to scan this. I heard him burn a scan, I think probably at the natural, so he still doesn't know. Does this guy have a third base? But Soulkey's econ is kind of getting crushed by putting down 4 Sunkens. I mean, that's a lot.
That's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, making like 2 or 3 is already an amount that's like quite a big like sacrifice. So yeah, 4 is kind of crazy. I think he's even throwing down more. I don't know what's going on here. He's expecting like a full-on counter from Light, but Light's actually not committed to the counter yet. He's still just chilling at this rally point area with his bio ball.
Yeah, you know, in retrospect, you know, I was talking about he may get Ling Muta all in, but in this particular game, if Soulkey had gone Ling Muta all in, well, he would already be dead because Terran actually never moved out onto the map. So this was actually a smart move from Light to nullify that potential play, but unbeknownst to him, he still doesn't know about the Ultralisk Cavern coming up in just a second. Soulkey did get a lot of damage onto the SCVs. He got something like 7 SCVs, which is crazy, and I don't even think he lost the Mutalisk. That was fantastic.
Yeah, the damage got spread pretty much amongst the entire flock of mutas, so they'll regenerate up slowly over time as well, giving him maximum value. And yeah, you want to kill about 6 or 7 SCVs to put yourself into a comfortable position going into that mid to late game phase. So now Soulkey can just kind of, you know, play defense, make sure he doesn't die to this massive swell of units coming across the map now from Light. That's a lot of Sunkens, but it is almost necessary at this point. There's so many medics supporting this force, so Soulkey's going to dive into the main base while he's got the defense back at home. There's not a lot back at home to defend against that. He's going to try and get a few more SCVs, but it's a massive wall of Sunkens here, Nyoken. I don't think he can penetrate through that, but the bio ball has just enough medics that he's managing to challenge for this, but he's not target firing down individual Sunkens here fast enough. He might just barely break through with a handful of Marines remaining.
I was about to say, I didn't think that the Marines were going to make it through because there was 6 Sunkens. If there was 4, I think he could have done it, but he still went for it. And that 7th Sunken was not completed, so he actually bust through. And like you said, there's a lot of medics here. And those mutas just dove into the main, so they're heavily damaged. Is this a botch? No, he's barely going to hold. But he lost so many drones.
So many drones. And he's on 2 base going 2.5 hatch, so this is really low economy for Soulkey now. Going to be very difficult to navigate the game further from here. He's going to be pretty much doing nothing but exclusively making drones for a while. And that's going to take him a long time to stabilize before he can start squeezing out Ultralisks like he wants to right now.
I do want to point out that I saw Soulkey spend about 400 gas. So, you know, +2 armor, what is that? Like 275, 275? And then if you factor in the Ultra's Cavern,
225.
you know, that's, yeah, 225. So that's about 400 gas right there. So if he just spent if he just spent the money for +2, Light is like not even behind on +2 weapon, assuming he also started +2 weapon right now.
Right.
So there's really not going to be a big upgrade advantage for Soulkey. Soulkey, he's in a rough spot right now. Like, he's also spent all of his gas. How many ultras can he really even build once he gets it completed? Or once he gets the cavern completed?
Not a lot, honestly. You'll probably only see like 2, 3, maybe 4 Ultralisk max, and yeah, that's not going to be enough of a force to fight Light here. He's got enough of a bioball that he'll be able to gun down those Ultras one at a time if that does become an issue, but so far he has got a massive pack of muters here. Levin's still strong. Can put a little bit of pressure and thin out the herd of these bio units to kind of make it a little bit difficult for them to challenge the Ultras later on. That might give enough map control to Soulkey to get control of this game again.
I don't even know if he ever built ultras, and this is the move that I was expecting to see in the beginning, which is the massling Mutafly. I don't see, yeah, he's not mining his nat, so he knows now, okay, this guy's not going ultras. What the hell is he doing? Well, he's probably all-inning me, and I guarantee you Light's just gonna sit here now.
Yeah, and he's got the vessels with the irradiates now. Oh, that's a lot of damage onto that clump. Really poor reaction time there from Soulkey. Now he hasn't really got much of a flock of muters to keep this bio units back. I don't know if this is going to work. I think he's going to try and have a hurrah attempt at it, see if he can get these Lings on top of these Marines. With the 1-1 upgrades on these bio units, the Lings aren't going to be doing as much damage to them anymore, so they'll have enough tankiness to weather the storm here.
Like, actually, I'm watching Artosis from last night. Literally, Artosis was playing a B ranker, and he scanned and saw the guys just mass linging. So he just sat there behind his wall for like 3 minutes straight, and eventually the guy just GG'd. And that's literally all Light has to do, is just sit here, wait for fire bats or wait for his armor upgrade to kick in, which I assume is probably kicked in. And now he scans the Lings. Now he knows. It's like, okay, well, dude, there's no way this can win. There's just way too many Marines.
Yeah, I think he's going to just dive in here and probably GG out. He knows. Yeah, that's it. Game 1 already going to Light.
Yeah, I think that idea could have worked in the earlier stages, but that bust, that was a crazy bust because, you know, I've done stuff like that myself, of course, not off of 14cc, so I don't have as much stuff, as many units, but 6 Sunkens, I'm like, dude, you don't even have +1 armor. How are you going to get through this? But critically, the 7th Sunken was not completed, and Light struck when the mutas were literally completely across the map, so the mutas couldn't help at all.
Yeah, and the fact that he had so many medics in that bio ball just allowed him to like have so much sustain while busting through. And I thought for a moment he wasn't going to be able to do it because he was not really targeting down any individual Sunkens. He started to target fire towards the end, but most of the Marine fire was spread quite evenly. So I was a little bit worried for Light, but somehow manages to punch through there, kill just enough of Soulkey's economy where he's forced to go into an all-in situation and going to have a quick win on the board. We're going to be going into Pantheon next. What do you think about Pantheon for this matchup?
Pantheon is so big, man. I never have great success on here. I feel like you got to play mech on here, like a mech switch, but I rarely see pros actually mech switch. But funny enough, like 2 weeks ago in a Soulkey versus Light series, the one game that Light mech switched, it was on Pantheon, and actually Soulkey got absolutely murdered on there. So I'm hoping to see that.
Yeah, honestly, I would like to see more mech switches. It is such a hard way to play the game. You're so weak at that point of transition. But if you've got enough bioforce out on the map, enough map control, and then you start laying mines and what have you, it can be a reasonably smooth transition.
Okay, so in the bottom left, we do have Soulkey, and in the top left, we do have Light. And you are right, with the mech switches, you are vulnerable at certain points. And also, when you do mech switches, it can't just be, you can just go tanks, and, camp and stuff. But a lot of times, you do have to get good vulture harassment. But as soon as Zerg, knows that, okay, well, you're not really attacking me anymore. You're just going to go vultures. Well, then they start putting up Sunkens. They start playing more defensive themselves, and then they start exploding their econ. And I think because Zergs are used to using so many units, for so many years, they can manage like splitting the map and using 100 units, through like 7 hotkeys and stuff. Whereas Terran is not really used to that. So I feel like Zergs are able to respond and deal with it just fine.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll see a mech switch necessarily from Light, but I definitely think he should have practiced it and consider it on maps like this. It's such a strong build if you can get away with it. It's just like we were saying, the transitional points of weakness are so easily exploitable if you know what you're doing as Zerg. And generally speaking, if the Zerg smells any blood in the water, they'll take advantage of it, and they will usually get a good whiff of that as soon as you start to go for that transition, unless the Terran's already in a commanding lead.
Other wall. It is not going to be gas for him. It is going to be hatch follow-up for Soulkey. So nothing unusual here. It's just be another 12 hatch. Now I wonder if Soulkey... Okay, well, he's going to see the SCV coming. But I was going to say, I wonder if Soulkey's going to go like something crazy. Is he going to go like 3 hatch before pool? And the reason I say that is because Pantheon is a bigger map. And I did see him queue up an additional drone, so I thought, okay, wow, it's going to be a big econ, but it ends up being an additional drone and then straight into pool.
Yeah, probably a 12-12-12 going into a 2.5 hatchery yet again here from Soulkey. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see that. I think the 3 hatch before pool, it's okay, but you probably want to save that for a map like Kickback or something where you can maybe take full advantage of it, and also maybe anticipate a more eco play out of the Terran.
That drone, I don't think... Okay, never mind. It's always hilarious to me. It's like, okay, he didn't actually get it. But I was going to say, it's always hilarious to me. It's like, aren't we both going the same path, the same direction? How does your unit always catch up to mine, but the drone doesn't get him that time?
Right. Well, it depends on if you're doing manual pathing or not. If one player is manually pathing their worker and the other's not, sometimes you can like slightly catch up on the hex grid if you're like perfectly going across the grid at like at angles and verticality. You can eventually catch up to the worker unless they're manually controlling theirs to also do the same to stay at maximum distance.
I saw that gas coming down, and I wasn't looking at the game timer, but I was like, damn, that's a fast gas. So immediately I was like, oh, are we going to have delayed mech? But it's going to be a 315 gas, which means it should be an eBay, but no, it's actually going to be an academy, because that additional building in the main, there's no way that was already an eBay. So it's going to be another 2 racks academy. Okay, this is interesting, because this isn't even a gas base. This is a mineral only.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about this. Why do you think he's opening up 2 racks academy?
I'm not sure exactly. I guess he feels like maybe Soulkey skimped out on Sunkens and he wants to put some pressure on him. I thought that the SCV didn't get into the main, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he saw that this guy built an additional drone and has better... Okay, if he finds this would be crazy. Yeah, he's not.
Yeah. He's not. He's probably going to check the bottom right, which makes sense. Yeah, if he did find that, that'd be pretty wild. And I think that's why Soulkey's taken this base here. He knows it's more than likely going to be scouted relatively late, and the link speed will kick in, and he'll be able to clean up this SCV long before he has a chance of identifying that.
So, a long time ago in ByClan, there used to be a player called Cozy. I think he ended up being like a practice partner on CJ. What? He used to be a practice partner on CJ Entis, but Light lifted his command center. And now this build order is a disaster. But speaking a little bit about Cozy back then, he used to hide bases like this at mineral onlys, and then he would flood so many Zerglings, absolutely a billion of them. So this could be one of those moments like I was talking about last game where you go mutiling, this time around with a hidden hatch, and just overwhelm the bio ball. If he has stim right now and stims for it, no, okay, it's already completed.
Maybe he'll try and dive on it, but with the Lings in setup, if he dives, it'll be a costly mistake for him. He'll lose pretty much everything to the speed Lings here, unless there's some kind of micro. He still hasn't found it. Like,
he's
looking for it if he smells it.
Yeah, like, he knows something's weird. I still don't know how he knows something's weird. Okay, well, I can tell you this, the Lings definitely can't go up there, because if they do, they're just gonna bait him in. Yeah,
Right.
Oh my gosh, this is painful to watch, but this is also a genius move from Soulkey.
It's the one base he's not going to check for a long time, unfortunately, for Light here. And Soulkey's calculated this. He's even got his tech building at the third base here, so this is really unfortunate for Light.
How he even scouted the corner. He's like, did you hide it in the corner? Like, you know, I've seen players do that later on the game when they have Hive Tech and they build a Nidus there, but I've never seen it at, like, Lair Tech. This is a dead army, by the way.
Yeah, this will eventually be cleaned up, and quite efficiently as well. He's trying to make sure he doesn't lose anything to this. That's why he's running away. This low HP muter going to come back in with the fresh 5. Pretty good job of targeting down the muters to delay this as long as possible, but as more and more fresh muters come into the pack, he's not really going to find much cost-efficient trades here. Might just barely not kill this muter. That's unfortunately a couple of shots from the Gauss Rifle would finish up. And there's that Evo chamber.
This is the cozy build, man. This is what he did back in the day. I played so many games versus this guy. I even recommended builds to Rhett. I'm like, hey, dude, just do this versus all these foreigners, and he would just steamroll them because they never found the base. And this is kind of similar to like the 14cc, where Soulkey this time around is just going to have massive econ.
Yeah. Yeah, he's basically going to do a similar thing as he did in the last game, but he's got this third base to propel his mineral intake, so that's going to give him so much more mutalings to leverage against Light here. And without the 14cc advantage, Light's going to be in a little bit of trouble.
Fourth hatchery coming down, and technically also fourth base. Yeah, he's scanning the main and natural. He's like, what am I missing here? Was it really just a low econ 2 hatch? But he's completely wrong.
Yeah, I doubt he really thinks that. I think he knows there's something weird. He just can't quite confirm what it is.
Yeah, he's stimming with this fire bat. He's like, I know you have hidden something. Where is it? We called this back in the EG days, the LZ Gamer base. It just never would get scouted. You knew it was out on the map, but where was it was always the question. And he still hasn't found it. He's going to finally find bottom right. And he's probably going to be thinking like, oh, actually, you were all inning. And now I see your third hatch, but it really isn't. I hope he builds like all of his Hydroden and Ultralisk Cavern and stuff down at that hidden base.
Yeah, he might not figure out that there's a hidden base. He might think that there's like a massive flood of Lings out on the map that are waiting to pounce on him. So he might think that Soulkey failed an all-in attempt and is now trying to recover, but that's not the case at all. Like, Soulkey's gonna maybe bowl him over if he makes one small mistake and moves his army out of position in the moment.
+1 weapon is kicked in for Terran. The mutas really haven't done, you know, a lot of damage to the SCV line, but of course they killed the first Marine attack, which is really all it needed to do. But Terran has now gotten up to a pretty sizable Marine medic ball. Okay, this is a great angle for Zerg.
Yeah.
I've been in this situation so many times. I just kill off the depot, man. It's like I don't want to deal with the funnel where I'm coming out one at a time and you're like splashing 2 or 3 Marines just over and over and over.
Yeah, there's a time where that depot wall starts to work against you, and there's a lot of Zerg players that will delay killing it because they know just how hard it is for you to transfer your units to and from that location. Eventually, they will go to town on taking out those depots, but usually only to bait the Marines to come and save it so they can rotate back around into the main again.
We've got Hive done. There's still no lurkers. There are a ton of Zergons, though, and they should have +1. Yeah, they do have +1 armor. Valkyrie, okay, so Light has a chance here if he has a factory with an add-on, but he doesn't, so he's gonna obviously have immense pushing power with this, but if Soulkey can sunken up his 4th base, he should be able to hold.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tricky, though. I mean, I don't think he wants to make Sunkens right now. I think he's going to try and clean this up with as mutiling as much as possible while transitioning into the crazy Zerg for the late game stage. Light might be so cautious that he doesn't actually come out onto the map until these other 2 Valkyries meet up.
Gonna be 4. Okay, that's going to be a massive Ling counterattack. Uh-oh. Oh, he spotted it with the Valkyries. That is probably a game-saving play there to spot that, because if he had been out on the map a little farther, probably he just gets countered, loses like a ton of stuff, and at the same time it buys Soulkey time to get his Ultralisk up. So at least Light doesn't outright die there, but I still think he's in massive trouble. I mean, this bio ball is huge, and I'm still confused. Why are there no Sunkens at the 4th base?
I think he might just like be assuming that if Light gets to it, he's going to lose it anyway. He might just sacrifice this if he needs to at some point and try and go on the counter offensive if he needs to. I'm not too sure. It looks like he's just going to sack it. Look, he's running his drones. He's anticipating sacking it anyway. He just wants to find a little bit of gas from it.
How did we get here? Like, Zerg got a free base. I mean, there's no way around it. He's basically got a free upgrade with his +1 because it was never under pressure. He got the 4th base for free, and now I look at the supplies. It's 69 to 107, which is confusing. You would expect that Zerg would have a higher supply count, and there's still no ultras. In fact, his gas has been pretty low the entire time. I think he maybe has built like 3. Oh, it's a drop.
Oh, there's 6 Valkyries and 2 dropships, Nyoken. This is insane. I don't think Soulkey holds this. I think Soulkey might die.
Definitely could die. Look, his lings are moving out of position. He may not even spot the drop. How big is the vision? Oh, he saw it. He saw it. Okay, but there's 6 Valkyries, like you said, and behind this could actually be a mech switch. Oh, the Scourge connect onto the Valkyries, and we're in. It's just lings.
This is crazy. He's going to kill the Spire, and the drones can't even mine from the main base now. This can escalate into a game win right here, right now. There's so many Valkyries, and there might just barely be enough bio that he can maybe kill one of these Ultras if it tries to come in as well.
He's going to get behind the minerals. Well, if he gets behind the minerals, I think he'll easily win the fight, but it looks like he's barely not going to get into the sweet spot. But critically, killing the Spire means goodbye Overlords, means we're playing Protoss versus Zerg now, means permanent supply block, and this buys Light time to now scale up his own production, whether it's going to be more racks, whether it's going to be factory flood. I'm looking at his buildings, like it doesn't seem like there's factory flood, but I think he could go for that if he wants.
Yeah, there's like 3 Overlords out on the map right now. He's struggling to get out of this supply cap, and he's gonna keep losing more and more of these Overlords as they spawn. I don't know if he can stabilize from this much damage. He's gonna try and go in for a counter offensive here right now. 5 Ultralisks with +4/1 just kicking in the upgrades, so it might have enough potency in these Ultralisks to at least do some damage here. But mines are already out. He's gonna be doing maybe a little bit of mech transition, like you were saying. And with this 2 depots not being killed off, there's a very hard choke point to come into with the medics blocking.
Yeah, I don't know why Light was out on the map like that. This is the literally only way he could lose his army. But he ends up getting into a sweet spot right there, loses almost nothing. Now there's only 2 or 3 Ultralisks remaining, and he catches the Overlord being built at the main base. There's a Sunken at the natural. Oh, okay, irradiate. Get those SCVs, man.
It's not enough though. With the pull away, he's going to save pretty much all those SCVs. There's not enough compensation here for Soulkey, I don't think, and he's made spores to try and protect these Overlords, but he's only just now started to kill off enough of these Valkyries that he can actually become on supply blocks again. He's got 44 supply against the 100 of Light. This is completely wild, Nyoken.
Finds the Overlords again, and finally these Vultures find the base, and he's like, I knew it, man. I knew that there's no way that you only have this at this point in the game. So he's going to at least know where the base is. Critically for Soulkey, he's at least out of supply block now. But he has taken so many losses. I guess he finally got his Spire done as we see the final Valkyrie gets taken down.
Yeah, even overmaking in Scourge and what have you, like it will give him enough of the anti-air that he can also maybe snipe. There's 2 vessels just heading into Soulkey's base. These might be sniped. I don't even know if Light knows about these 2 vessels.
I think he does. I think there's, yeah, he was like, this guy doesn't have a Spire, so I'm going to go eraser his mineral line, but he forgot that it didn't do anything. So that's a bit of a waste, but Light at least has, he went from having 2 bases up to 4 bases real fast. This is what you do with a mech switch. But look at what Soulkey's doing. He's taking top right, and Light really needs to find this base, because I can't even tell you how hard it is to kill a main base with a Nidus. If he can get this main base, where do you expand as Light? Are you going to take bottom right? I can tell you that's not happening. Is he going to take mid left? I mean, I guess he could, but it's towards Zerg. That's, I actually think there's probably nothing in there, but I could be wrong.
This game could get a little bit out of control. I mean, Light's playing very cautiously right now, and you're right, he does really need to think about this top right pocket of the map. I mean, if Zerg gets that, you're in a, not only can you not expand easily as Terran, but now the Zerg has got so much more gas, and Soulkey's doing a great job of using such a small pocket of units to come in here and clean up a lot of the tech units of like so many vessels and dropships have gone down in the last minute alone. And he's not really mining efficiently. He's been running his SCVs to and from this 3rd and 4th base, not really mining.
One of the fragile parts of the mech switch, I mean, as you can see, one ultra's, you know, countering like 10 vultures unless they run into a mine. You just don't have any tanks at this point. And on top of it, because it was a bio with, you know, a big commitment to Valkyries and stuff, like the bio has +1, Terran doesn't have any upgrades himself on the vultures, and these ultras are already at +4, so to say that the vultures do no damage unless a mine connects, I think is even an understatement. Like, I mean, they are almost useless.
Yeah, they're like 3-shotting lings. They're really not going to be as potent as they would usually be. But the mines are the things that are really going to sandbag the attempts here from Soulkey. They're doing such huge damage to the Ultralisk. One low HP Ultralisk finally managing to get into the expansion, but now the Vultures will actually be able to kill it. It's so low.
Well, there's that Nidus that I was talking about, and he never found top right.
Beautiful target firing with the mines.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good. And 2 ultras, so I mean, they're just so strong versus unupgraded mech. It even kills the tank. I actually think Soulkey's won this game because the game's gotten so weird because there's no counter to the ultras anymore, and top right's going to be up and running. Like, look at supply. What was it, 100 to 45 a minute ago? Now it's 126 to 85, and now all of a sudden we have mutas on the field.
Yeah, honestly, like Soulkey has like done like Zerg 101 and how to like disrupt a Terran mech transition. You want to make the game as chaotic as possible, even if it's in the later stages where they've already got lots of tanks. You need to make the game as scrappy as you can so that the Ultraling actually trades well, because you know it's 200 gas per Ultra. Usually you're not killing 2 tanks with 1 Ultra in the later phases, so you need to make the game a chaotic mess to be able to pull this off.
This game's, I think it's over. Because Light's mined out in his main is natural, and now he's not mining his 3rd and 4th base, and Soulkey still has all these bases up and running. He needed these 3 tanks set up like 2 minutes ago. And then I think he would have been in a good spot. It would have been 4 base with Terran getting some type of map control with the mines, but now that he's lost all control, this is Soulkey's game to take.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 4 gases with this top right base, so he can make so many units right now. And Light is not mining at his 3rd or his 4th, so this is just 2 base Terran that's going to be mined out in a moment here.
5 upgrades versus +1 Terran. You know, actually, as a Terran player, having played mech switch a lot, you only really need to have +2 weapon, but he doesn't even have that, and he's facing versus +5 ultras. So these things are literally immortal.
It's kind of crazy.
There's nothing in the bunker, so there's like not even Marines getting free shots off either.
Yeah, I mean, the only real defense here is the irradiates, and that will help him kill the SCVs even faster. So this is not really ideal for Light. And now even on supplies, the writing is on the wall for the Terran player, unfortunately. I don't think there's any counterplay potential as well, even though he is trying to get more and more mines laid out onto the map in the wake of the Ultras. It's just not enough, and every time he does get a few tanks, the scrappy Ultras come in and try and find a kill with a mine drag or 2.
Die there. It's just non-stop random blue units across the map. Doesn't even matter if they're laying through some 1 ultra, just send it. It's getting value.
Yeah, it's very, very weird Sauron Zerg style we're seeing here. Usually there's many more units involved, but because the Terran is like struggling to stabilize, with just a few Ultralisks, you can come in here and absolutely run rampant and just full on murder. Like, everything for Light is getting eviscerated.
You're gonna see it in a second. GG's got to come out. Yep, there he is. So I was talking about mech switch in the beginning. I didn't really explain it very well, but this is one of the downsides of mech switch is, you know, Zerg is used to just sending tons of units, just sending random groups like this. When you do mech switches, you're not really just sending it as Terran like you are with the Marine and Medic. You know, Marine Medic is more comparable to how Zerg plays, but when you play mech switch, you got to be very diligent with your mines. You got to be very diligent with having your tanks in the right spot. Like, you're not ever attacking with 3 tanks, right? Whereas Zerg is attacking with, like you saw, like randomly just send 3 ultras,
Yeah.
and you defend with what as Terran? Vultures that have no upgrades? I mean, it can get really weird as you saw real quickly if you're ever like not at critical mass tank or don't have the map control with the mines.
Yeah, I mean, the links can also be put on move command to sweep through the minefield. So even if you do have a massive swarm of mines out on the map, you're not really truly safe. You know, that it can spiral out of control until you get your tanks going.
This was just crazy to me. I mean, he killed so many overlords. I thought, okay, this is it. And okay, it was just a fake drop. The drop ships didn't have anything in them, but it didn't matter because those ultras were already across the map. So it wasn't like Soulkey was going to turn this around. And look at this. I mean, literally one ultra forced 2 bases to get lifted because I don't think it dies here. I think it runs into the it runs into the 4th base. So
Yeah.
he's not mining at both bases.
It's kind of crazy, honestly. Like, it's really well calculated game from Soulkey. That's why he's a champion, able to navigate these kinds of games into wins. It's wild.
And he was, or Light was just about to be like set up. If he had waited a minute where all these mines get set up, I think Light probably easily wins this game as long as he finds top right. Top right is, you know, kind of a wild card there. But as soon as these ultras just disrupted the mining, I'm like, well, I know how this is going to go. This guy still has no tanks, and they're +4 or +5 ultras. Like, there's going to be no way to kill them, and there
Yeah.
wasn't.
I mean, tanks are really good against ultras, but only once you get enough of them. So when you've only got like a few tanks, you're really susceptible to just being bowled over by the Zerg.
Yeah, a lot of Terran players, like, they only get one add-on initially when they do the mech switch because, of course, you're no longer building Marines and tanks are only good when they're in critical mass. So you got to have a lot of mines set up initially, but I think Light just went overboard on the Vultures. Like, seeing those 3 tanks at the end, I was like, damn, man, like, that was like, didn't we just see the replay progress bar? It was like 16 minutes into the game and there was still not a single tank.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you do mech switches in a normal game, Zergs are starting to get ultras around like 16 and 17 minutes. So like he wouldn't have been able to stop ultras even in that type of game because he still had no tanks. So I mean, overall, just the tanks were like way late. They needed to be out in the field like literally 2 or
Yeah.
3 minutes earlier.
I think he just miscalculated and he thought that he had done more damage to Soulkey with that Overlord cleanup, and he just assumed that there wouldn't be enough of a counterattack and completely misread the situation and got bowled over.
I mean, I would have thought the same thing. I killed the Spire. I just moved, killed like 20 Overlords. This guy can't build anything. He only has a Hydra Den, but he's
Right.
supply blocked, so he can't even he can't even kill the Valkyries with that because he can't build anything. He can only rely on a Spore. And in fact, I think the Spore at the natural actually like got 2 or 3 Valkyries because I remember it
I mean,
shooting
two
down.
spores.
He got, oh, he had 2 Spores? I didn't see
Yeah,
2.
two spores. Yeah, 2 spores in the natural.
All I saw was during that was that the Valkyrie count was 3 instead of 5. So those spores were heroic, got him time to get a couple overlords alive, and then build the scourge and end up taking down the Valkyries eventually.
Honestly, I think him taking that mineral only so early as his third gave him enough of the economy to recover. Like, he would have struggled to recover those overlords without the additional influx of those minerals, I think.
Yeah, but if I was Soulkey there and like the game went like that, I'd be like questioning that type of play because, like I was saying, supplies were like really low for Soulkey. Like I was waiting for it to be, you know, like 90 to 80 or something, you know, something really close. And it
Yeah.
just wasn't. It was like 110 to 60. And that was even before the Valkyries killed the Overlords. Like I realized they killed some Mutalisks at the top side, right? So let's like add 10 or 12, right? So, you know, it's still 110 to 72 or something. So I was like, is this really that impactful? Because it didn't really look like it was helping that much.
Yeah, honestly, that build looked a little bit weak to Valkyries, all things considered. I don't know if you would want to attempt something like that again. We might see a bit of a mix-up in strategic approach from Soulkey and the rest of the series.
Yeah, I think the third map is going to be kickback, so the chances of him hiding a base is pretty low since you're already going to have 3 bases, but I guess I could see him still rushing the evolution chamber. I guess the one consistent thing with the
Yeah.
theme is he's been going for fast evolution chamber for whatever reason.
I mean, I mean, Crazy Zerg's very strong, and I have noticed that Soulkey's been practicing that style more lately. I've noticed him go for it a lot more than he used to. It's usually the kind of build you'd see like someone like Action or Hero go for more often, but recently I have seen Soulkey bust out the fast pull into Crazy Zerg a lot more. So I'm wondering if there's something about this build that he feels really comfortable with, or he's figured out.
Maybe he's thinking that these Terran players are going Valkyries too much. And if you're not rushing the science facility
It's
and
not enough
instead are
radio.
going Valkyries, well, then there's a real scenario where Zerg has +2 when Terran like literally just started +2, right? So there's like a
Yeah.
3-minute window of opportunity where Zerg just can't be attacked because the ultras are just never going to die. So I mean, maybe that's the logic.
Well, I think as a Zerg player, it's not just the logic of the Terran player not being able to attack you, but you want to try and figure out the timing windows of when you can trade better. So it's like if you've got like a 30-second or a minute window where they're an upgrade behind, that's when you want to be on the offensive as Zerg as well. So you want to like get your ultras into that next upgrade level, and then go on the aggressive right away. Then you've got like a 30-second, 60-second window where you're just trading better.
It always feels so bad as a Terran when you like feel like you crushed your build. You get out on the map like, yes, I got my +2 power spike, and then you walk out and you see that the ultras have +5, and it's like, oh,
Mm.
this is not the moment for me. And you just have to turn around. Well, it looks like we're going to be going into a break, and then we'll be back with game 3. right, we are back. We're going to be going into game 3 in just a second, which I think is going to be kickback. We have tied score 1-1. Light had a pretty abusive build order win in game 1. Then Soulkey had a pretty abusive build order win in game 2, but Light was murdering him with the Valkyries. But doing the mech switch, when he had the game, ended up backfiring as 2-3 ultras just ran rampant, killing everything.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to see, but I'm really digging that we're seeing Soulkey going for crazy Zerg. I'm enjoying that a lot. I wonder if he'll continue that trend here in this series. Now with kickback, we might be seeing a 3-hatch before pool. It is possible.
You definitely could see the 3-hatch before pool. A lot of times I see them open like over pool and then they go 3-hatch.
Yeah.
So I wonder if Light will, try and make an 8 racks happen. I'm still waiting for the Wraith play. Please, can I see one Wraith game? I mean, I feel like I've theory crafted it like over and over and over, and there just still has never been one.
Right. Well, you might see that if we go the distance and we get Monty Hall. I imagine you'll definitely see a 2-port Wraith or something like that there. But if it doesn't go the distance, we might not see it.
We saw the predictions for the viewers. They think Soulkey's going to win 56% and Light 44%. I mean, that's pretty freaking close. I feel like those odds are pretty accurate. Like a lot of people on Team Liquid think that Soulkey's like clear favorite, right? Like it made it sound like, it's like 70-30 or something crazy, but I think the fans here are pretty accurate with the 55-45.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way it's more than like 60. I think 70 is a little bit strong.
Yeah, I think for sure that we could definitely have like a 4-3 score, and based historically on the graphic we saw earlier, all the Terran versus Zergs between both of these players have gone the distance in all the series, whether it was 3-2 versus JYJ or 2-1 Soulkey versus Light from a couple of seasons ago. It's always been really, really close, and so far the series is making me think that it's going to be close as we have a 1-1 score. And I'm looking at the maps. Deja Vu is going to be the 4th map, so that's going to be another standard map. So I feel like if Light can win here, there's a decent shot he wins on Deja Vu, and then he could be up 3-1. But if he loses here, I don't know what to think. I feel like we could probably go to game 7. So we do have Soulkey in the bottom left, and then in the top right, we do have Light. Oh, got to turn on the sound.
Now, this is probably the weirdest, besides Monty Hall, this is probably the weirdest map compared to these other more standard-looking ones. You have only a 3,000 gas in your natural and third, and just 1,000 minerals. So these bases mine out exceptionally quickly, which means the Zerg is usually forced to expand much more aggressively than usual and what have you.
This map, with the way they've done the minerals at the expansions, I really do hope that some map maker out there experiments with this again, putting 1,200 minerals per patch at a natural, but instead of having, additional bases, just like imagine having a polypoid with this setup. Then all of a sudden, the Terran players, that sit for 15 minutes before taking another base, like Terran versus Zerg or Terran versus Protoss, all of a sudden, those type of builds can't happen anymore. Like you're forcing Terran to actually expand quickly. You know what I mean? So I would love to see map makers experiment with this. And look at this. I don't think I've ever seen this. A double 9 scout. Soulkey's very worried that Light was up to no good this game.
Well, to be fair, if it was like an 8 racks out on the map and these drones catch it, Light's just pretty much, destroyed. So there was a chance that if he was going for an aggressive racks, these drones would have heavily punished him. So a little bit of a gamble that's not going to quite pay off, but he is going to see that it's cross map and nothing too crazy. So a little bit of an economic deficit for Soulkey, and that's what we were talking about earlier prior to the series, that Soulkey's the kind of guy that has the composure to kind of like make cuts and be happy playing from behind just to make sure he doesn't get caught off guard.
It was an 8 racks, by the way. Originally I thought it was just a depot, but it was an 8 racks, so Soulkey does see that, hey, this guy did go for an aggro build, but it's not super forward, and he's not even committing with the Marine. I think it's because he got scouted so fast. He's like, well, this isn't going to work anymore. I actually thought it was going to be a gas follow-up for Light, but there's no gas in the main. I love how he walled him in, so this drone's dead, so at least he's going to punish him in that sense.
Yeah, that's some compensation. But yeah, I thought with the cross map, we probably won't see much success with this, but he's going to come out with these 2 Marines and try and get a potential drone here anyway. But now that the SEV's seeing the eggs, I imagine he's going to turn those around. Yeah, there they go. So I don't think we'll see much in the way of punishment either side at the moment, but this catching of the drone is actually a nice little compensation.
And Soulkey didn't even gas steal. A lot of Zerg players end up just stealing the gas when they know that they're going to lose the drone. There's the build that I was talking about in the beginning, which is pool first, double expand. I mean, you can't do anything about it, so might as well just go for it. And there's the command center. At least he confirms there's a command center instead of like... I mean, I know this isn't really possible, but like a proxy second racks. At least he knows, okay, I'm not getting all in here, so he confirms that this is going to be somewhat normal.
Yeah, I mean, even if you can be very sure of something in StarCraft, generally speaking, especially as a Terran player, you know this, you want to confirm your suspicions whenever you can.
As a Terran player, you know, TVP especially, man, those players, they can really throw you for a loop like we saw yesterday where Barrack scouts Snow on Pantheon. Oh, it's range expansion. Great. I'm just going to all in with my 2-fact. Oh, no, actually it's 1 base DT. Just built that Citadel after your SCV died. They can be very tricky.
I mean, that's why this game is more like poker than chess, right? There's a lot more unknown variables, and you have to kind of read the range of play rather than the exact play unless you've got a perfect scout.
Is that a Hydroden? It's an evolution chamber. I had a feeling we were going to see evolution chamber again, so you're right. Like, this crazy Zerg style, I mean, Soulkey must have realized something for him to do it 3 times in a row. On this map, I think it's great because you get the 3 bases. What's Terran going to do? Unless they do a tank push, I imagine he's going to get to the Ultras once again.
Yeah, and there's no real worry for the Zerg. If the Terran tries to turtle on these 3 bases, the Zerg is just going to expand aggressively and be happy with that. He knows the Terran is mined out much earlier than usual on those 3 bases, so he just needs to expand aggressively and cover his own mined out bases, and he'll be fine.
There's the additional racks. It's going to be a 2 racks once again. No eBay, or actually there was an eBay in the corner, so it's going to be eBay. I think it was fast eBay, and then a second rack. So he will have fast upgrades. This is probably going to be... I actually think it's just going to be 3 racks, but it could be 4 racks again. The reason I say it's probably going to be 3 racks is because it was an 8 racks opener. The SCV count is not going to be as great, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to afford 4 racks while also going for tech, but...
Well,
okay, there it is.
Yeah, Light is the kind of guy that he does cut SCVs earlier than usual, so he might go 4x, like knowing that he'll cut SCVs later on a little bit to compensate and get the production going. It's possible we'll see that.
We've got Light on the move, but Sunkens are already set up, and this isn't going to do any... Okay, somehow Light pulls money out of a hat, and he's got 4 racks and the factory coming, and he scanned and saw that... Oh, maybe he scanned the natural? I think he only has... Okay, he does have 2 scanners. I don't know if he actually scanned the evolution chamber. Maybe that's why he's rushing the factory.
Yeah, I'm curious about the timing of why he decided to place it down exactly then. If he scouted and then placed it down, or just happened to place it down already.
We've got Marines checking for hidden bases. I would have trauma after the Pantheon game, be super paranoid that this guy might have hidden another base, but... not the case this time around. Another scan goes off. He sees the Queen's Nest. I mean, even though I don't think he ever scanned the evolution chamber. I don't think you're ever going Hydroden Queen's Nest this quickly. So I think he probably imagines that this is once again fast upgrades. And honestly, Light has a really good build for this. He just needs to not go Valkyries this time and just go his science facility, and he'll probably be matching the upgrade.
Yeah. I think he might be, even though he committed to the 8 racks early, I think he might be lined up a lot better for this build order this time around. I favor him much more highly on this map.
Yeah, the question for me is just once we get to mid and late game, will he be able to get a 4th and 5th base? Like, my experience on here is mid-right, for example. it feels like it's so far away. And then even if you get it, where's your 5th base? Is it the center? I mean, it's not Terran versus Protoss where you have a million tanks and you can hold it. Like, this is going to be a bio game, so most likely he's probably going to take top middle, and that feels like it's a mile away.
Yeah, I feel like this is a theme for a lot of Terran players. The bases look a lot closer than they actually are. It's like this is actually like a light year of a distance for Terran to travel, especially in like TVP where you got to push out and like control the map to not get overrun while you're expanding. Like in TVZ, it's a similar issue. You need to like know that this base is, you know, defended well, or it will just become easily cancelled or counterattacked later on. And we may see a little bit of an issue there from Light. We're not being able to secure a 4th base so easily. He might decide to go for a much more lower economy style anyway, going into the mid game, so he might not be taking his 3rd for some time.
That SCV is going onto the high ground. Maybe he will build the command center. And I was just about to mention that it's gonna be Queens for Ensnare. It could also be for Broodling because, you know, one of the ways you beat Crazy Zerg is you pop the Sunkens before they actually get out. So I guess we're not 100% sure on what this is, but the fact that Terran hasn't moved out at all, I have a feeling that this is probably for Ensnare. There's the command center, so it is going to be 3 base, but the question for me is how well is this Ensnare going to work? I'm kind of on the fence with Ensnare. Ensnare, sometimes it looks like amazing, like why don't Zergs ever do this? And then there's other games and it's like, well, that was useless, right? So
yeah, they're kind of like Guardians, essentially. They don't have much EV in terms of like raw expected value, but they have potential value. So sometimes they can be crazy good, sometimes they can just be terrible. It's like Guardians, you know, they don't have good consistent value to warrant going for that every single time, but there are moments where it can be the thing that saves you from dying. It's good to be using the Queens to scout at least.
Please be Parasite. I think Parasite is very underused. It doesn't even really matter what you Parasite. You could Parasite a freaking SCV. Terran probably won't even notice it, but at least it'll give you vision and you'll see like when units move. Okay, well, I gotta tell you, I've never seen this before.
I have, but only when I'm like trolling my friend or something. This is not something I expected to see in a pro game, but I'm really excited that we're seeing it right now. I mean, the Queen was probably going to die anyway, so like getting some value out of it. I'm not sure he intended to do that from the start, but that was like the backup plan if the Queen got caught inside the base.
I'm waiting to see this on ladder. Like, I'm waiting for someone to do this versus Artosis, and I'm just imagining in my head, like, the excuse, like, I lost because they ensnared my workers. That would be such an absurd statement, but I could see it happening in the next few days.
I mean, that's a crazy statement. I'm not sure I'd want to make that statement.
It would just be so absurd, but some of the things that he ends up saying have been absurd anyways.
Right,
that would make that would probably make my year if I heard that.
You might even just do it for the content, honestly.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we know it's now Ensnare. We know that Ultras are now out onto the field. They should have, they do have +4. Terran has nailed their build. They don't have +2 just yet. I think he's about a minute away, so, you know, we were talking about it earlier. Zerg has some time to make attacks work, but you know, I know how Terran is. When they know that they're down upgrades, they're just going to sit here, man. So I think Zerg should consider either taking this opportunity to go bottom middle or mid left or another main.
Yeah, he may even double expand, because when you're playing Crazy Zerg as well, double expanding becomes like way more effective than usual, because you don't really need any additional minerals, you just need gas. So you just take like 2 bases in opposite corners of the map, and maybe the Terran commits to killing one of them, but then you've got his army out of position and you've got the other base as a backup. So yeah, we'll probably see a few bases being sprouted out from Soulkey. I think he's going to take the bottom right and top left, it looks like.
This is always tough to deal with, because you feel the pressure to, you know, get rid of these bases, but there's 2 of them. It's like, well, which one do I take down? If I go to bottom right, I can't go top left. So they're going to get one eventually, and then also you have to fear being countered. Now, Terran is on the move, so he must have hit +2. He needs to be very careful. There's a ton of Ultralists. He needs to use mass D-Matrix here, and he needs to somehow get the medics in the front. And he has not gotten the medics in the front. He is retreating. Where's the D-Matrix, man? You can't go irradiate here. Okay, there's not enough Terran.
There's a lot of Ensnare as well, Nyoken. This is like, this army would probably win anyway, and the Ensnare is going to make it so it can't even run away. A few panicked D-Matrixes going to be thrown in here, but Soulkey's just like running an absolute clinic on Light right now and showing him a little bit of a modern take on the crazy Zerg, making sure he gets maximum value out of all of his units that he utilized earlier on to make sure he wasn't going to be sunk or broken. Now going to be making him trade so cost efficiently. He can kind of buy a little bit of time by squeezing the Marines between these gaps in the barracks. The Ultras can't actually get in between those gaps to catch those Marines, but with a few flooded Lings coming in behind to help clean up, there's no real way of stabilizing here for Light.
Well, before those Ultras got into the main, did you see any of them die?
No.
Exactly. Literally none of them died, which makes me question, did Terran actually have +2 weapon? I mean, I realize Ensnare is good, but maybe there was just no +2 weapon. Maybe he didn't focus fire. I mean, I never focus fire Ultras in scenarios like that because...
Well, you need to mow down the Lings as well. There were so many Lings, so you kind of have to be on attack move just to clean up the amount of Lings that are trying to wrap around your army, right?
Yeah, so that's like the dilemma is you focus down the Ultras, but the Lings, they have crackling, and they're just doing tons and tons of damage, and this game is mega over. I mean, Light's staying in the game because the Ultras can't hit him, but if I was Soulkey, I would have already sent a drone across the map and started building a hatchery in this guy's base, because it's time to get out.
Yeah, he's basically about as dead as you can be without actually being dead. He's technically still alive, but, I mean, the Lings can get between the gaps in the barracks as well. He's just going to pick off all the buildings that aren't being defended, so no more starports, no more depots. Eventually has to tap out. GG finally called.
That was a massacre, and this is one of the reasons that I was really hoping we could see race, because when you go race like this, first off, Zerg can't play like this. Second, you can at least harass the drone line. Like, yes, they're going to have 3 bases, but if you do like a low econ wraith play, you can all of a sudden, you know, make sure that this guy builds a lot of defense. You can keep their drone count in check. If they ever build too many drones, for example, you can just start killing Hydras. You can start killing Mutalisks. And this game looks like a lot of my Terran versus Zerg games where it's 3 base immediately for Zerg. You're just always down econ as Terran. Now, of course, I haven't run into Ensnare Ultralist, but, you know, the result ends up being the same in that I just get run over because the econ's too crazy.
Right. And Light does have really impeccable Wraith control, it has to be said. So if anyone's going to go for that kind of style, he probably should be considering it at the very least. Maybe he will, you know, decide to switch things up now that what he has planned is not going so well. I imagine he's going to be feeling the heat. And if he doesn't go the distance, we won't even see Monty Hall for like a guaranteed kind of Wraith play. So he might be considering it on one of these maps coming up.
Yeah, so Deja Vu, I was talking about, this is going to be an important map for Light because if he doesn't win here, then he's got Dominator immediately after, which, you know, is similar to Gladiator. And I remember playing on Gladiator where if Soulkey can hide a base once again or really get his econ going into Ultras, Gladiator was a really big map. There were so many bases. It was just like a nonstop flood of units. And so far, Light has had no answer to the Ultralists unless he can sunken bust, you know, like in game 1 where Zerg just never gets there. So I'm getting worried that if he doesn't win here, Dominator may just end the series with like a 4-1.
Well, I think that's why we saw the Queens last game, was that Soulkey identified, hang on a minute, Light is just so reliant on his like bust timings that if I just make a couple of Queens and, like, you know, just don't die, I can then also use these Queens later on, and it's just everything's all gravy. I think we'll be seeing like micro adjustments from both players as they figure out more of how each other are lining up. And so far, it seems like Soulkey is just like dialed in and has got a complete read on Light. I feel like Light is the onus is on him, like you say, to win right here, right now on Deja Vu to set the momentum.
Okay, so in the top left, up 2-1, we've got Soulkey, and in the top right, we do have Light. So Deja Vu, I think this is another map where you can mech switch. You've got high ground in the center. If you can control the center, you can easily get for, you know, the mid bases, top, middle, mid, right. Terrans generally expand to other mains, but taking advantage of the high ground means that as the game progresses, you're going to have easy 5th and 6th bases. I wonder at this point, because it's been ultras every game, do you just open like mech? Because if you just open mech, this guy can't go ultras anymore. Ultraling is not good into mech. Like, I mean, the mines are too strong, the siege is too strong. But at least you force Soulkey to play something else. Like, at least he's got to go Hydras or Mutas. Oh, is it an 8 racks?
I think so. Yeah, you have to make the game exceedingly scrappy to have any chance at winning with Ultraling versus mech straight up. It's almost impossible if the Terran player doesn't make mistakes. You're kind of banking on the Terran player, like, being stretched too thin and not being able to consolidate anywhere. And that's not easy to make that happen as a Zerg player. You kind of like get a banking on the Terran player making mistakes at that point. And while that sometimes does happen on the ladder, probably won't always happen at the SSL level.
This 8 racks could be very, very good, because we saw on Pantheon he went 12 hatch and then he built an additional drone and then built a pool. And there's a reason that Zerg players don't really do that often. It's because 8 racks is, in the hands of pro players, can be very deadly. Just building one additional drone can be your downfall. But this time around, Soulkey did not build an additional drone.
Yeah, basically you do want to go for a 12-12-12 for a 2.5 hatch for maximum economic benefit, but because of the potential of these early rushes like we see from Light, he needs to squeeze out this pool as quickly as possible, so much more traditional 2 hatch style timing from him. He will be scouting this really quickly with the drone, so he probably won't take any damage to the 8 racks, I imagine, but it's still going to be annoying to have to fend with, and he's going to be happy that he's opted for this 11 pool.
Look at this, he forced a cancel on the gas, so at least he's disrupted Soulkey's planned build. So now maybe Light can get a normal-ish game versus this guy. We've got 2 Marines and both SCVs here, so it's going to be a lot of pressure. 3rd Marine on the way.
Ooh, but yeah, you don't really want to mind gases here. The relative timings get pushed back like a whole minute, and you just like want to be in like on the pure defense mode with these 7 drones, trying to get a surround from the north, getting some DPS on that initial SEV. It's not too bad, but has taken a little bit of damage on one of these drones out on the field as well. He's trying to intercept one of the 4th Marine coming in, but he loses one of these drones because the pathing is just a little bit too bad trying to get back to this ramp. Very awkward situation here from Soulkey. He's trying to catch this Marine, but Light is tentatively coming back to save that, so he's going to be trying to do a little bunker push here, but so far Light is being unchecked. There is some lings coming out now. He needs to retreat to this the 2nd bunker maybe with these 5 lings, but I don't know, with the surround with the drones, he's not getting into the bunker in time. He might catch 1 or 2 of these Marines. He does get 1 of them.
Oh my gosh, the SCV was in the way of the lings, so, and he's gonna probably complete the bunker again. It was non-stop Marines. A lot of times you stop around like 3 or 4, but he just continued to send. It was what, I think he sent 5 in total now.
Yeah.
This is devastating damage. The 2nd bunker is going to complete. It's not in range of the hatchery, but he can just put like 3 Marines in there and, you know, unload 1 or 2 of them like this. Oh, he's going to load up both. And they both get in.
Oh, he's gonna. Okay, this is actually really well calculated from Light. He will lose his bunker at the front, but so far he's done a really great job of causing maximum direct and indirect damage to the economy of Soulkey, just forcing this many lings alone, and he's really going to sandbag this other bunker. You need like 12 lings to kill this efficiently. With the SEV there and additional Marines, it's really hard to clean up cost efficiently. So he's going to run by and try and catch some of the rallying Marines instead, but not really finding anything. There is 1 more Marine back at home to help defend against this counter attack, but that means there's not many lings back to deal with these initial Marines. So Light is doing a great job microing back and forth, causing as much damage to Soulkey, and his plan is completely out the window now. But the 4 lings go on the counter attack. Beautiful SCV block from Light. Does manage to get past it and get on top of this Marine, but he's doing enough damage to these lings that he probably won't get any significant damage here.
There's more lings on the way, and he had lifted his racks. There's a hole at the top right now. The lings have drawn the units out of position.
No.
The Marine's gonna bounce, pop out at the bottom side. He needs to get to that bunker. How
Oh, he's
close?
just barely getting away with the Marine. Come
Oh,
on.
that
He
is
just
clutch.
barely gets in. That's super clutch. Drill on the ramp. Beautiful drill as well. Catches most of the lings. Only 2 of them getting in. They're pretty low HP as well. Might be able to get a cancel or slow down rather on this barracks, but yeah, a little bit of compensation for Soulkey, but I'm not sure this is enough compensation making up for how much damage Light did with that rush there.
That was really good defense from Light. I could have easily seen the Lings, just barely kill the Marine or get in there and kill some more SCVs. But now he's held. It did force all of the Marines back, but he's done crippling damage. The drone count is extremely low. Like, think about how many Lings this guy has. Yeah, 5 drones there. He's got 7 in the main, so 12 drones versus a Terran that's already got their command center done. And the flare just finished. There's gonna be Spire starting in just a second, but Soulkey is really down in the dumps.
Yeah, this is about as low economy as you can get on 2 hatcheries. He's gonna struggle to even afford to make non-stop mutas on both of these hatcheries. You need like 5 drones mining minerals and 3 on gas for non-stop production. He's not even got that right now. He's struggling. He needs a couple more drones. Oh, he's just barely got enough drones to be able to handle that, but he needs to take a second gas still, so he needs to first get an influx of minerals so he can actually start building mutas at all. And he also has to make overlords on top of that. So yeah, this is really rough for Soulkey. It's going to take a long time before he gets a mute account that's sizable enough to put a threat onto Light.
I feel like this is the dream scenario for Light. He's got Soulkey really where he wants him. He's going to have immense pressure because he saved all those Marines that were in the bunker. He's going to be on the move with a huge amount of Marine medic. The Spire's not even done, and even if it was, how many mutas can he actually build? Well, the answer is only 3, because that's all the minerals he has. He has no Sunkens. Every drone that's lost here is painful, and Soulkey can't even mine his nat gas because he has so few drones.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, he has got a little bit of banked up gas, so initially it doesn't hurt, but for every second he's not mining that gas is going to really like pain him later on. Here comes the bust though. I think that the Sunkers just barely don't finish in time. One just now finishing, but the next one only starting. So with a target fire, you should better get this Sunken colony. And I don't think he can hold this though, because I think he just might be dead here. So many drones will go down.
And also the Spire's on the low ground, so that thing's gonna die.
Yeah, really rough. Worst case scenario here for Soulkey. I think this is going to be a 2-all draw situation, which is what we want. We want to see this series go the distance. So if killing this hatchery and the Spire is what we need to have happen to go into a 4th game, I'm more than happy.
Soulkey knows that it's over, and that was perfect execution with the 8 racks. The Ling counterattack looked like it was going to be dangerous. Especially when I looked at the minimap and saw the racks floating, I was like, no, not like this, man. Not with the floated racks. But clutch defense with the SCVs in the bunker, and obviously the Marine move at the end to do a full 360 around the bunker to get into it eventually. That was really nice.
Yeah, bunkers build so quickly, and honestly, like I thought for a second that he wasn't going to get into the bunker with the Marine. I thought he was just going to die there.
I also thought it because we saw 4 Lings get in initially, and then you saw 5 more coming. I was like, wow, is this really how it ends? You have a perfect 8 racks, but you lift your racks too early and you just die. But clutch micro there.
It's really well played to be able to handle defending in a situation where one small mistake you could just like throw the game, while also like juggling your Marines at the front to try and get maximum value and prevent any surround with the drones as well. Like really well played from Light. I'm kind of impressed.
Yeah, I've heard Terrans, if they just make one mistake, they often lose. But there was no mistake made that time, and it gets us a tied series 2-2. We've got another break, and then we'll be back with Game 5. All right, we've got game 5 coming up in just a second. It's going to be Dominator. Light struck back in game 4 to give us a tied series. So the hope and dreams of getting to Monty Hall, they still are alive. And Dominator, like I said, Gladiator in the past used to be a pretty good map for Zerg, but at the same time, this is I think a better version for Terran, because it's much easier to get the third base. Also, mineral only is really close, so Terran can easily get 4 bases pretty quickly. So I'm hoping to see a big slugfest, kind of like the Pantheon game. Well, it was setting up to be a slugfest. We never actually got it to come to fruition, but I'm hoping we can get a slugfest here.
Well, I think even more than that, I think the pressure's now on Soulkey to win even more. Like the last 2 maps are not so Zerg favored. Minstrel, there's no easy third gas. Monty Hall is a little bit Terran favored as well. I think like Soulkey suddenly now might be feeling a lot of pressure because I think he has to win this map.
I agree. I think Minstrel's going to be pretty rough for Zerg. He's not going to have a lot of bases to hide at on Minstrel, because what are you going to do? Hide a base on one of those bases that are in the center of the map? I mean, no, you're never taking that. Marines could just sit behind the mineral line and kill the minerals. So I think you're right. This is a very important map for Soulkey, and we are going to get into Dominator now. And in the top left, we do have our Zerg, whereas in the mid right, he got a really good spawn. It's light, so we could see the wall in here. And I think if you're going to get a spawn like this and you haven't gone mech, this could be the time to go for mech, because you got the wall, full wall, by the way. You can't be punished. I think this is a great opportunity to go for it.
It certainly would be a good change of pace for him with how the other games have gone as well. If he's going to do something like that, this is a very opportune moment as well. I kind of agree with you.
Well, it is a little unlucky for Light that Soulkey got top left, for example, because now Soulkey knows that all the remaining positions are full wallable. If Soulkey had gotten bottom left, he maybe would have thought like, okay, it's 50-50 that you didn't get.
He should have four-pulled.
Yeah, he should have four-pulled. If four-pull would have been great, because there's the depot. Yeah. And yeah, now I don't like it. He's now 9-pooling into both positions that are wallable. I actually really hate this. I guess at this point, he may be thinking, okay, I know that you got wallable spawns, and because of that, you're gonna 8 racks, right? Like, this is like a mind game type of 9-pool, but I don't like this. I feel like already Soulkey's at a big deficit.
This is one of the biggest issues with Soulkey, is he's willing to like gamble and be behind. Like, he's comfortable playing from behind so much that he often finds himself in that position, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, he makes it work, so we'll see how he recovers from this. This is already... I hope he goes to the right side. I mean, he scouted bottom left. I can't imagine him scouting bottom left, but it looks like he's going to go to the middle first. And because he scouted so... What is this?
What? Okay. We're basically seeing that game we said wouldn't happen earlier, with that maybe he could have made an additional barracks out on the map, and that's what we're seeing here. A little bit of a wild stuff from Light. It's kind of thing you would do maybe against a Protoss player or something if you want to, like, counter attack after a gas steal. Not something usually see in a TVZ, but okay, we're seeing it here right now.
Well, okay. This is obviously extremely risky, and the fact that the racks is placed right there is crazy. It is so close. He needs to micro this SCV forever, because if he doesn't do that, like if he just lets the Lings just, they can't do anything, they might as well scout, because he never got into the main. He didn't confirm there's no gas. He didn't confirm that there's a command center. For all he knows, there could be another SCV out on the map, like building a proxy factory or something. So a lot of players like Effort, they just send Lings everywhere. So it is imperative that this SCV stays alive as long as possible.
And it does go down. There's another SCV that's going to be coming in and doing a scout here. I wonder if he turned... Yeah, he's not minding anything. He's just playing full eco right now.
Well, wait a minute. Did he spend 100 gas?
I think he did.
Died. Did he?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm actually a little bit confused.
No, he didn't, because if he had spent 100 gas, he would have just 4, right? Because 100
Yes, actually, you're right. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, well, look at what Soulkey did. He scouted every other, what is our toast called? Pizza slice, except for the one where the Rax is.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the guy that's cut this pizza is probably called the Dominator with how he cuts up his pizzas.
Well, the Marines are like one of the slowest units in the game, so it's still going to take him a while to get across the map. Okay. Sunken, I think this is a hold, man. Sunkens are really strong unless you have medics. Maybe, did he not build enough lings?
I mean, well, there's a bit of a drone surround. That's a lot of damage on that Sunken. It's going to go down immediately, but the surround with the lings is pretty good. The bunker's on the way, but the Marines are going to die before the bunker finishes. There is an additional Marine that can survive to get in the bunker, but he has to micro a little bit. Ooh, just barely gets in. Very clutch moment here, but it doesn't really matter. There's not enough DPS if he doesn't repair. Ooh, that was so... He's going to go down anyway. Big mistake from Light not to instantly repair that.
I guess it's not over yet, but seeing this amount of lings, he knows it was a hidden second Rax, and now all he has to do is build lings, and he's going to hold. By the way, I do want to point out that Light was trying to get the Sunken down to 100 health so he could one-shot it, but he overshot, and like it was down to like 70 or something, which is why the lings ended up killing so many Marines, and now Light's dead. Well, okay, I mean, he's not dead because he's going to try and play it out, but yeah, he's in trouble, of course.
Right, he's going to get one Marine behind the wall. He can put a lot of DPS onto this depot, though, and keep pulling off the Ling that's being targeted down. He needs more than one SCV to repair. He needs to get his other SCVs here, because he will eventually break through the depot. Repair the wall! Why is he not repairing?
He's trying to set up his SCVs, because two SCVs I don't think can repair it in time. Well, please be a Hydrogen, by the way. If this is a Hydrogen, you know how much he's just going to bust down everything so quick.
Yeah. Yeah, and without there being a lot of Marines, the Hydras actually would have been an interesting choice. But there could be a Spire, just a normal follow-up here from Soulkey. But I think the damage is done. I think he did enough damage to the Marine count. And the timings of Light are going to be so slow as well because of the 8 racks. Double 8 racks into second racks is a lot of a commitment from a Terran player. So his timings are going to be so slow, even though the Zerg is also slow.
Is going to be a third hatch in the main. Much better econ for Soulkey. I expect this supply to kind of just really shoot up for Zerg heavily in the next couple minutes. There's the Academy. Wait. That is some of the fastest 4 racks I've ever seen off of a 2 rack. So I guess this is going to be mega low econ and try and just go for a Hail Mary, catch maybe the Mutalisk out of position and, you know, try and bust the natural like he did on Radion.
Yeah, I think so. I think it makes sense, and I think he knows that if he gets a win here, he's pretty much set to win the series, maybe. So he's just trying like a few gambles to try and get a sneaky win on Soulkey. I think he's a little bit frustrated that the initial rush didn't do more damage, but it is what it is. I think he knows that the last 2 maps are a lot more favored for him than these others. So even if he loses here, he's still got a good shot at winning the whole thing. So why not take a few gambles?
The Spire is done, and that means mutas are going to be on the field. I actually think Light should consider moving out right now, because at least it will keep the Mutalisk back. Like the SCV count, I imagine, has to be low. You can see that he's already cutting, but it actually looks pretty decent to me. If I was to guess, I would maybe say like 30, so maybe his is actually a playable position, but supplies are obviously really close, 40 to 45. First 6 mutas on the field, so they're going to be looking for some SCV kills.
Well, the biggest issue is that there's no bunker in the natural expansion, so if these Marines have to come into the main base to defend against the mutas, the Lings can just do run-bys, and then Light's in trouble.
Indeed he is. Now we're going to have 7 mutas, magic number to one-shot the SCVs, but Light's way out of position with his Marines.
Oh no.
Okay, he didn't even counter, and now he's just going to take SCV losses. This is perfect for Soulkey.
Yeah, this couldn't be better, honestly. Like, he's gotten probably more SCVs than he even thought he would get. I think he was hoping there that the Bioball would actually chase the mutas out and he would be able to do some counterattack into the natural, the Lings, but Light made his job even easier for him by having his bio out position. So, yeah, this is looking pretty rough for Light. The supplies are even at like 8 minutes. This is not looking good, Nyoken.
Somehow, Soulkey still doesn't have great econ. Like, I'm getting flashbacks to the Radeon game where we've got Sunkens, but we don't have a third base. He doesn't have an evolution chamber. He's not rushing Hive. I mean, I could see a world where Light can actually win this game, because I don't see how our mid game plays out for Soulkey. Is he just going to hold with Mutaling with no upgrades?
I mean, maybe he thinks that he can. He might make a mistake in like overplaying his hand a little bit here, because Light is very good at controlling his bio. He keeps it in a tight square. He doesn't overstim as well. Like, he's very, very adept at managing the medic energy and like maneuvering around with his bio, that maybe Soulkey won't shave off enough of these forces to actually put himself into a good enough mid-game state where Mutaling even becomes a feasible option to clean up anymore. He might just be playing defense.
Once again, I'm curious how we got here. Why are supplies like not the greatest anymore? And Terran's army looks huge. I mean, there's no way around it. Like, I obviously know he's, you know, delayed his factory, but
he's not killed any Marines with these mutas yet. He lost a few mutas committing to the SCV kills as well, and he's never had a strong muta count to really fight these Marines. He's shaving off a few now, but look at these, the mutas are dying as well. So right now, relative on a power scale, like, Soulkey needs a big win in trading off these Marines to be comfortable.
And back in Soulkey's main, I'm still waiting to see like a big building go down. I think finally I see either Hydrogen or Queen's Nest at his natural, but it's still just mostly mutaless. He has snuck a base at mid-left, but these mutas have taken a lot of damage. I'm getting worried that we're going more mutas, more lings. Terran's going to have +1 in a second. And like you said, he didn't really lose that many Marines. If he gets a consolidated army, bunkers his natural, and goes for a big attack on the third base with like 1 Firebat and 3 Marines in the bunker, I think he could hold a counter. And I don't know if Soulkey can hold a counter.
Yeah, and Light's not, and Light's calling Soulkey's bluff. Like, he keeps trying to bait the Marines into the main base with the mutas, and Light's just saying nope, and he's just pushing out of his bioforce onto the map now. It's going to be very difficult to get any kind of mutaling cleanup on these bio units if they can consolidate. He's trying to do a bit of a wraparound to see if he can catch off some of the units and get a run by, but completely catches the entirety of those lings on the northern flank. So now Soulkey's in a little bit of a desperate position. Like, this third base is exposed. He's got Sunkens in the natural, but I don't know. I mean, there's a chance that Light can actually win this game now.
He does have lurkers at his natural, so that can't be broken. But the third base can be broken. But unfortunately for Light, he doesn't. Okay, he finally finds mid-left. He should scan the natural and see, like, okay, I can't, but he's gonna go for it. What? There's 5 Sunkens here, man. Plus lurkers pretty soon.
Oh, he's got 4 lurkers as well. There's no way he can break through here. I mean, this is a little bit of a suicidal attempt, and he's losing a lot back in the natural expansion. Light's had a little bit of desperation himself now as the Lings start to go to town on these turrets, and the natural opening that up as well. Sitting on top of the Terran production with the mutas, he has to pull back with his whole army. He's got a few Marines going up to the third base, though. If he can maybe kill this hatchery while cleaning up back at home, he won't be in the worst position, but this is a lot of damage to sustain.
Well, mid-left's not going to die. He's not, he may hold his main, but, I mean, didn't he lose all of his SCVs at his natural? Okay, this doesn't even take damage. So this game, you got to imagine it must be over now, right? I'm just waiting for some lurkers to get into the natural, you know, hold this ramp, and then how do you ever get out? Is he going to kill the hatch? There's no way he kills this hatch.
Well, I was wondering if maybe he could somehow like sneak a kill on his hatchery by microing the Marines around for a while, but he did attempt that, but only got it down to 400. It's a shame. I think if he kills this hatchery somehow, maybe it's playable and it's not too bad, but as it stands, this is a rough position to be in as Light.
So there's the lurkers that I was expecting. There's not, okay, this is a bit ballsy because those mutas are not that strong, but luckily for Soulkey, the 4 lurkers kill absolutely everything, and getting rid of the, you know, defending units with his counterattack means Light has nothing left, and that was a critical win for Soulkey. He's going to go up 3-2 in the series.
Yeah, he had to win that game, I would say. I mean, Light, and this is the thing, that Light can still win this whole series. These last 2 maps are very Terran favored compared to some of the other ones we've already seen. So this is like still the play for Light. I can't fault him for going for a few gambles there. I think if Light wins this game, he's a shoo-in to win the series, and I think he knew that. He knew that just winning here right now would be the play. Unfortunately, not going to be able to get that. And that's a much needed win for Soulkey, not just in terms of tempo, but these last 2 map choices really not ideal for Zerg.
That was a surprising recovery from Light because, you know, obviously he went 2 racks. He pulled 3 SCVs with it, by the way. And then
Yeah.
in the fight, he focused down the Sunken. Like, he didn't kill drones. He didn't kill Lings. Like, it was a complete wash. He lost everything for almost nothing. And still, he had tons of units, you know, as a follow-up with the 4 racks. I really thought that after losing all those units in the beginning is, you know, Soulkey was just going to run away with it. But at least Light made a game out of it, but now he's down 3-2, like you said. At least he's got good maps here remaining, Minstrel and Monty Hall. I really think Minstrel, like, what do you do as a Zerg? Like, can you only play Crazy Zerg there? Because at least with Crazy Zerg, you only need 3 gas, and then you can use the powerful upgrades to slowly take a 4th base. Like, half of the bases on the map you can't take. Like, you just can't.
But securing that 3rd gas is so hard, though. You need to have pure map control and be winning in the S priority with the Mutalisks for a long time to stabilize. It's not ideal. Like, Light could really run circles around Soulkey with that fact that there's no one entrance gas expansion to take.
Yeah.
Every single gas expansion is exposed.
Yeah, even a corner base has 2 entrances. I mean, they're not exactly the largest entrances, but there's still 2 ways to get in.
Right.
We are ready, so let's get into game 6. Maybe Soulkey can close it out here. So, in the top left, 1 game away from making it into the round of 4, we've got Soulkey, and in the bottom right, we do have Light.
What's your predictions, Nyoken? Do you think we're going to see Soulkey knock out Light right here, right now? We're going to go the distance?
I don't know, man. I actually have a feeling that Soulkey is going to have some, like, master plan build for this map. Because this map just seems so bad for Zerg.
Yeah. I imagine he's got something really cunning up his sleeve. Like, maybe some kind of, like, interesting 2-base timing. Or maybe a bit of a mind game where he does this a similar thing as before, where he like makes a spire and a den, and you know, tries to trick you in what tech he's actually going for.
We do have again another low ground depot, so it's gonna be another wall. It's gonna be a semi-wall, and Soulkey is scouting really fast. I guess he's thinking like, well, this guy might 14cc me again, so he wants to figure out what exactly the opener is.
Plus, you can hard counter like an 8 racks with this 9 scout as well, so it's not a bad option to go for here, Zerg.
I guess we'll wait and see if it's going to be 14cc. I can't imagine it being it yet. It's just going to be a normal racks timing.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see anything too crazy out of Light necessarily. All my eyes are going to be on Soulkey.
Yeah, I don't expect to see like gas follow-up or something weird. I do expect this to just be a command center, and everything so far looks like it's going to be a command center. Now, because he's scouted that this is a normal build, and he's kept the SCV back, could this be one of those games where you go 3 half to 4 pool? Do you mix in an additional drone? Well, so far, no additional drone. Well, actually, he did mix an additional drone.
Yeah, 2.5 hatch timings, it looks like, squeezing out a little bit of extra economy. Whoa.
Okay, Light's in trouble. This is a nightmare. He thought that the drone wasn't going to come in, and it actually did. And now what do you do? Are you going to commit to it? Are you going to fake it and build a command center?
This is awkward.
He pulled off gas, by the way. Okay, now he put back on because he saw the drone come back in. He was trying to mind game. And yeah, this is a disaster. Light doesn't know what the hell he wants to do.
Yeah, this is really rough because in a way he probably feels like he has to commit to it now, but he doesn't want to. He wants to just fake it and mind game. But it doesn't really matter. Either way, this is not a very optimized way of going about his game plan at all.
Apparently, the sneaky build on this map is, 1, have a Terran player try and play sneaky themselves, and then 9 scout them with your drone, and just have the build completely ruined. I mean, this is as bad as it gets. Like, I don't even think he's committed to going for a factory as a follow-up. Like, you assume, like, you only have to mine 12 more gas, you might as well, right? But it wouldn't even surprise me to see him go eBay and go +1 weapon.
Yeah, I thought he was going to consider committing to it and maybe slightly switching up the game plan, but it looks like no, he's just going to mine just up to 88 gas and then not even make a factory. Probably one of the worst optimized builds you could go for.
He didn't get in with the drone. The wall was far enough away to keep it out. So at least he forces out a sunken here, which is going to be lost money. I think that's a Rax. Yeah, it ends up being just a complete fake. A 2 Rax Academy. Okay, I mean, this is mega mind game. This could definitely throw Soulkey off guard. In fact, you can see he even has a drone on the ramp because he's thinking, okay, this could be a vulture run by. So actually, this is allowing Light to recover a little bit. And look at this, Soulkey's like, well, if you go vulture, guess what? You have no DPS. So I'm just going to go take bottom left. If this gets scouted... Oh, that's a link. I thought he was taking bottom left. If that was a drone for a hatchery and it got scouted, that's 100% a dead base.
Yeah, pretty much. I honestly, like, the mind game has found some compensation here. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's enough to make this not super terrible for Light. The fact that he's committing to a few early sunkens and drones not mining by blocking the ramp, it's a little bit of compensation for doing a crazy opening that didn't pay off.
Oh, there we go. He gets in. He does go double sunken, which is going to be the correct response here. And he does see that this guy is built an additional Rax. Okay, so he knows it's a 2 Rax. I was worried that he was only going to build 1 sunken, because actually when the Ling came in, it only saw, I think, 3 or 4 Marines, and it still didn't see the command center. So far, Soulkey has the perfect response, and he'll even end up hatching in his main now.
Yeah, there's that 2.5 hatch timing. I mean, this overall, I would say this is going pretty good for Soulkey. I mean, Light found a little bit of compensation, but not enough to make up for the build, I would say. So this could be a little bit troublesome for Light, because even though this is a map that's awkward to get this 3rd gas on, if Soulkey can get a bit of a lead going into the mid game and get map control with Muta Ling, then that issue isn't big as a factor anymore.
Marines, that is a lot of medics. I'm curious what the reason for having so many medics so quick is. You would think you would see something like this, later on in the game when he's going for a bust, but I mean, you're not busting with this low of a Marine count. Oh, that's a pretty fast 3rd Rax, is it not? So maybe he is going to try and bust.
I think he's setting up for a bust and he's just building energy. He's just going about it in a bit of a weird way. If anything, I think this should signal to Soulkey that he wants to bust.
And he rushes factory, so once again, he's going to go into fast tech. I mean, at this point, you've seen this guy go Evolution Chamber almost every single game, so I can't even fault him for this. But this is the one time where he doesn't need the Rush Factory because there's no Evolution Chamber. I did see an additional building in Soulkey's main. Is that the pool? Or, I don't know, there's something in his main that's looks weird. Maybe that is the pool.
I think that is the pool.
Oh, we'll see if
it's
the
a spire next to the pool.
Alright, well, we'll see if these mutas can find the Marines funneling next to that depot once again. He's going to get into the main, get an SCV kill, and... Uh-oh. Lights out on the map, man! He's just going to go for it, but there's not enough Marines!
And a couple of links getting through as well. Like, an extra 2 links to help the DPS of the mutas is super annoying. He's getting on top of the Terran production. Like, this is really bad situation. He has to pull the whole army back, and meanwhile, Soulkey's just going to clean up a few units for free here. This is really rough for Light.
Yeah, Light's panicking. He was trying to counter, but didn't think he was going to lose, double turret there and his Marines as they pop out. Actually, he didn't take as much damage as I was in. And Soulkey's all-inning here. He's continuing to build Lings and Mutas. Okay, maybe not all-inning, because is that a drone going to the bottom left? I can't imagine it being a Ling this time. But those Mutas took a lot of damage. So, he just loses another one right there. And Light does have his starport coming. It's going to be Armory again. Okay, so we're going to have Valkyrie play.
With the Lurker transition, the Valkyries won't be super effective. He's making the Hydra Den pretty early on. So I'm not too sure how effective the Valkyries will be in this game.
Not so sure either. The Lurkers are going to be out probably by the time even the first Valkyrie is on the field. So I don't know if you really have any attacking opportunity. Once again, the mutas are going to try and find an opening, but Marines are in position. Turrets also coming up, so there's no success there. Critically for Light, the mutas haven't killed like any SCVs, so his econ is still crazy, but he's kept back in his base for a while, and Soulkey's going to get bottom left up and running, I imagine.
Yeah, I think this was the game plan from the start from Soulkey. He wanted to be a bit aggressive and rely purely on Muta Ling to secure map control, so he doesn't have to worry about the third base being so weakly defended. Going to rotate into the main base, see if he can snag some more SCV kills. These turrets aren't the best position, so getting a lot of kills, and the Lings are going to notice that the bio is going to push out onto the map, so we'll be at a time when he pulls out with these mutas quite efficiently as well.
Oh my gosh, the turrets are, what, like an inch out of position? No, he's not mine. Oh, interception! Okay, I mean, at least that gets some damage done, but the Marines are still back!
Yeah, I think... I actually wanted to say this map is one of the best maps to catch mutas on the exit with how the main base is designed in the bottom right especially. You can like just run down and catch the mutas in their flight path. You see Sharp do that a lot. It's really effective. So many SCVs.
He's lost so much, and he's just gonna... Okay, there is an opportunity right now. The mutas are weak. There's not that many Lings, and obviously there's not that many Lurkers, but the Lurker eggs are probably gonna complete in time.
It's looking pretty close, but I think the den was just barely early enough where it's going to finish. Yeah, he made the den just barely early enough.
Lurker's out into position. That means that this is the hold at the natural. He needs to go bottom left now. That's the only place he can attack. Ooh, and he kills it.
That's unfortunate. But yeah, the bottom left is the... Oh, he's not paying attention. He might lose his bonus.
Oh my, that was perfection. Moves the Lurkers in as he saw the units at the bottom side move, and now, you know, it's split Marine Medic. Okay, that's really good focus fire, but the Lings and mutas are going to clean up everything else. Hand off the keyboard. Light knows that he is in trouble.
Soulkey is so good, man. I think Light is just processing this game right now. Like, Soulkey is just pure championship tier caliber of player. Like, really stellar stuff from him in this series. Yeah, there it is. GG finally called, and Soulkey is gonna be the guy facing off against Snow in the next round of 4. I'm looking super excited to that rematch, Nyoken.
It's definitely going to be an exciting series, especially since we saw it last season be super epic. And yeah, Light is depressed, man. I would be depressed too. Yeah. If I got 9 scouted, I'm going for a weird gas opener, get scouted, then you pull off of gas, and the drone comes back again, so you have to put back onto gas once more. Then you pull off again, and it's like, what? Then you go 2 racks, and a Ling gets in and sees the second racks. It's like literally everything went wrong.
And this was the map we thought that he'd be performing a lot better on. It's so unlucky for Light. He's going to be feeling that for a long time. You can see how slumped he is in that chair. Like, he's really feeling the pain of that. I don't blame him. I feel for him a little bit.
We're getting a look at the Mutalist into the main. As soon as I saw these turrets, I thought, like, aren't these too far away? And I was right. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I have this happen to me on Citadel. Like, Citadel, when I get bottom right, every time I put my depot next to my command center, all of a sudden there's like no room to build anything else on the bottom side unless you're going to wall in your SCVs, which obviously you don't want to do. And it looks like that's the exact same thing that happened here. He built his academy under there. He built under the CC. He built the armory. And then you can see he built a depot field at the bottom right. So he can literally, I guess he could have put 2 turrets, one next to the armory, one next to the academy, but then the SCVs can't escape to the left side, which makes it weird, because then, you know, like you say, go build a depot on the left, but they like bounce on the turret and never get out, and then the depot legitimately never builds. So it was just unfortunate.
It's weirdly one of the hardest things about Terran, like where you make your first initial buildings can really dictate the entire base layout, and sometimes your own Sim City will make you lose a game.
Yeah. I played on Team Liquid Attack like 15 years ago, and one of the penalties that I got was can't lift your buildings. Oh man, you had to be very diligent on where you build everything. It's like, oh, I'm going to wall in because he's Protoss. But then you realize, like, wait a minute, I can't wall in. Or I guess I can, but then I have to kill my depot, right? So
yeah, that's rough, not lifting your buildings as Terran. That really limits your options.
Yeah, because a lot of Terran build orders, you know, rely on SimCity microing Marines between walls against Zealot, or completely walling in versus a 4-pool, stuff of
Or
that
even just
nature.
saving your base. Like there's so many times where like you can just lift your command center and not worry about it. But if you can't lift it and it dies, like, oh my god.
Well, congratulations to Soulkey. He played pretty well. Obviously, had interesting builds in the first 3 games with the Ultralist play.
Yeah.
Some of them worked out really well. The Ensnare was interesting. I can already see the Ensnare on the SCV being on the ladder, for the memes for the next couple weeks.
That'd be a good thumbnail for this series if like just have that as the thumbnail, like ensnared Marines. Like people see that and they're going to be wanting to know what the hell happened in that series.
Yeah. I wish we could get a replay of that battle in the center of the map on Kickback. I think legitimately none of the Ultras died. I don't even know if any of them got damaged down to,
Not
critically low
much.
health. It looked like they were
Yeah,
all
no.
at like 200 or 300 HP.
Yeah, he was mainly just like cleaning up the lings. There was a little bit of fire on the ultras, but not enough to damage them really.
Yes, so we do have our round of 4 match confirmed with Snow and Soulkey. Of course, we haven't done the right side of the bracket. You have any predictions for the right side? We've got Rain versus Rush and Sharp versus Hero.
I think Rain and Hero will win those games.
Really? You think Rain can
Yeah.
beat Rush?
I mean, it'll be a hard matchup, but I really do like Rain's style. He's got a very unique approach to the game. I would say he's like almost like Bonjour level of intelligence when it comes to the game, but not Bonjour level of execution. And if it's true that he has been putting in a lot more hours, especially for this SSL, then I give him even a little bit more of an edge than usual.
So I've got Rush versus Hero, and then I think I have Rush winning versus Hero, just because Hero's weakest matchup is versus Terran, but it wouldn't surprise me if Hero wins. But for your prediction, Rain versus Hero, okay, we know Rain, God tier versus Protoss, decent versus Zerg, but versus Terran, but Hero has like a 70% win rate
Yeah.
versus Protoss. Is there a
Hero
world
dominates
where
Rain.
Rain? Oh, you've got
No.
Hero winning that?
Yeah, easy. I'd throw
Okay.
money at that, yeah.
Okay, so there's a real possibility we could have a rematch, Soulkey versus Hero in the finals. I think a lot of people probably have
That's what I
Soulkey
want.
over Snow.
I want the rematch, but then I want Hero to win it.
Okay. Yeah, I also want Hero to win it.
That's what I'm looking for anyway.
For me, the most epic match would be Snow versus Hero, because then I would be in a dilemma. Like, I like Snow a lot,
Yeah.
but I've been rooting for Hero for longer than I've been rooting for Snow.
But honestly, like Snow has had a tendency to be a little bit shaky deep into tournaments and has looked a little bit flimsy as of late, like against speed. So I don't know if he goes super deep into the tournament, we could see him falling apart a little bit, maybe.
That is possible, but like, let's say Hero makes it out, and let's say Snow beats Soulkey. Snow would probably be like on a mega confidence booster, like, hey, I
That's
beat
true.
Soulkey, and now I
That's
just
true.
have to beat Hero. And also, he would only be focused on playing Zergs, right? Like, he
Yeah.
would have gotten
Yeah.
a lot of practice for Soulkey, and then obviously he only has to practice again for Hero.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be able to call that match. I mean, I'd obviously want Hero to win, but as in terms of who would actually win, I don't know. Actually, yeah, it could go either way. I wouldn't want to call that match. My heart wants to say Hero, but my head is telling me definitely that wouldn't be such a clean cut case because, like you say, he's gonna have a lot more experience in that matchup going forward with the brackets if that does transpire.
We still have a chance for a Terran to make it to the finals because both Rush and Sharp are on the right side, but at least we can breathe a sigh of relief. It will not be a Terran versus Terran finals. With Fight eliminated, that eliminates that possibility. I don't have to worry about calling into work saying I need to take this day off because it's potentially going to be a 5 hour long cast.
Yeah. I mean, luckily, TVT has not been as long as it used to be. I mean, people have refined their builds a lot more. We see a lot more Vulture War stuff going on. So sometimes you have the quicker games, but there is always that potential that a game just drags out forever. And if say, you make a mistake and you allow your opponent to get one more base than you anticipated because you couldn't shut down a lane, then all of a sudden the game drags out another 10 minutes or what have you.
think even 10 minutes is being generous.
Yeah, it's more like
Sometimes they
20.
drag on like 20 or 30 minutes
Yeah,
because
yeah.
people just stock up drop ships. At that point in the game, both players have a million comsats, so they just scan, and it really comes down to, can somebody find an opening with the drop, whether it's in the main or the third
Right.
base or even another main.
And then there's the meta game of you where they scan, you know they want to attack. So then it's like you want to hunt down where they're scanning, so you know whether they're most likely going to hit you as well.
I mean, TVT can just be nightmare. But when you get players like JYJ who have optimized strategies, a lot of games end real quickly. But JYJ is no longer in the tournament, so don't think TVTs would be short. But we would have possibility for Rush versus Sharp TVT semifinals, which could be interesting. Sharp is really good versus Terran, but I think him versus Hero is going to be pretty rough. It's a rematch from
Yeah.
last season where he looked really good in game one. I remember the Citadel game. I was like, holy smokes, Sharp came to play. But then it was Hero every single game after that, just dominating.
Right. Yeah, I think we might see a little bit of a repeat of that, honestly. I mean, Sharp's really good, and he is up and coming, and he's looking stellar. But against Zerg, against someone of Hero's caliber, I just don't think he can hang.
We're getting a rundown of how today went. It looked like it was going to be pretty good for Light, especially after seeing the first couple games. Even though he lost on Pantheon, like, there was opportunity to win there. But then it was back-to-back wins, then another win for Light on Deja Vu with really good 8 racks. Then Dominator, little bit of a mistake focusing the Sunken for too long, I think. I guess I would have to watch the replay to see the exact health. And then obviously Minstrel was just a disaster for the build order. Soulkey, that drone was really clutch. And like we were stating, this sets us up for an epic match in the round of 4, Snow versus Soulkey. But we still have the bottom side of the bracket remaining too.
I've noticed that with the highest tier Zergs like Queen and Soulkey and these kinds of guys, like they have the habit of doing that where they'll scout check and then come back and scout check over and over again, even if it's like just a Scourge flying in to scout. Like they have this tendency to scout and then rescout and then rescout just to really confirm, okay, is that a mind game or not?
Yeah, well, that's good because a lot of times I see players in like BSL, for example, like they sort of scout, but they don't really. Like they scout the wall, for example, but they
Mm,
don't see the command center. And then I like look at who they're playing against and it says Terror. And I'm like, that ain't enough, man. Terror's like
yeah.
maybe floating a factory into your base at this point.
Yeah, he's just faking the wall in and that he's got an expansion. You need to actually confirm that. See the building with your own eyeballs.
Yeah, so our next round of 8 matches, as you can see, is going to be Rain versus Rush. This could go either way. I think Rush is a little bit favored, and then Hero. Sharp's going to have to pull out something special here, kind of like what Light needed to do versus Soulkey today. And that's going to
Yeah,
be. Go
I
ahead.
don't think we'll see a Sharp being Hero. I mean, I think Rain versus Rush is going to be the much more interesting series out of those two. Even though I prefer Terran versus Zerg, I think that's going to be a way closer series.
Well, I just want to see a Monty Hall game, man. Like
Me too, man.
we almost got it. And I'm
Almost.
trying to think like what Monty Hall games have we seen this season? Of course, we saw C versus Action. We
Yeah,
saw somebody else also on Monty Hall, but I don't remember really seeing many other games. Like, have we seen a Protoss versus Zerg, for example?
I don't
I
think so.
can't think of one.
Yeah, I don't think so. I honestly really like the map. It's very weird. It's unorthodox. It promotes very unusual approaches to the game. I mean, you could go free hatchery before pool, and the Terran player could go like proxy factory into two port Wraith. There's so many options on that map. I think I was talking to you a little bit before the series about one of my favorite games, 2005 OSL Flash versus Bisu, his debut game where Flash was in the top left, proxying his barracks and mining out the wall and using a refinery to convert the minerals into gas so we could keep mining out the wall. You can do all kinds of interesting stuff on that map.
Was back when Flash was just cheesing like crazy, and then I don't know how much later after that game happened, but another game where Flash cheesed like crazy was when he was also playing on Bisu versus Medusa. He
Yeah.
glitched 2 SCVs onto the high ground, and I think it was either double barracks or single barracks Bisu's mineral line. So yeah, you can definitely do wild things on Monty Hall. Also, what makes Monty Hall interesting is, like, let's say you even play a normal game. If you mine out the wrong path, all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you don't have an attacking pattern. Or let's say you mine out the right one, but the guy goes for a 4-pull or something and also mines out the right one. Well, then they have direct access into your base.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure how they plan for that in the early game. From what I've seen, it's Terrans seem to prefer the top lane. From what I've noticed, in terms of how often they place their proxy factory or what have you, it tends to be the top lane they choose. I don't know if that's just like a chance thing or that they've done a lot of research and think that that's their best bet. But I'm curious to see what these guys plan on doing on that map if we do get a fortunate enough chance to see it.
Guess I haven't noticed the top lane thing, but I'll pay more attention to it when I actually watch more Monty Hall games. But if they do, like, the only thing that I could imagine it, like, the logic is because obviously the top lane and the bottom lane, they're supposed to be equal, right? They're supposed to be basically the same. Could it be literally like, okay, I don't like to scroll left
Maybe, yeah,
compared
it
to
could be something
scrolling
as
to
simple as
top right?
that. Could be something as simple as that. I don't. Maybe that's maybe it comes down to those minor details because there's no other real reason to choose one lane over the other. So it's like I'm gonna just look at the tiny little min maxes that I can get out of choosing a lane over the other one.
Imagine being so good that you can legitimately say, I lost the game because I scroll better, or I don't scroll better on this lane. That is crazy. But we are done today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and big thank you to Xun for helping me out here with this series. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next round of 8 match coming up next week.
Thanks, guys.